3, your weather authority.
Sunny and 48 in Las Vegas. I'm John Schaefer on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDON, Las Vegas' only FM news talk station. With a look at the roads, here's Bradley J. in the KDON Traffic Center.
Traffic sponsored by Liberty Mutual Insurance, where you only pay for what you need. Crash on the west side, 215, Western Beltway northbound at Far Hills. Have another one that's lingering on the northbound I-15, Silverado Ranch on-ramp. Southbound 95 at the Charleston off-ramp. Another crash slowing you down as you make your way off the freeway. Also watch for an injury wreck on MLK northbound near the 95. Liberty Mutual Insurance customizes your coverage so you only pay for what you need. Go to libertymutual.com for a customized quote and you could save. I'm Bradley J. in the KDON Traffic Center.
For more than a year, the whole of Vermont was captivated by the hunt for a runaway golden retriever. Read Catching Murphy, the latest book from the Associated Press. Available now exclusively at Amazon.com.
I'm Jim Snyder.
And I'm Marie Mortera. We want to thank you for making News 3 your #1 choice for news.
You can count on us to have the big story of the day.
Plus breaking news that matters to you.
News 3 live at 11 with Jim Snyder and Marie Mortera, leading the way in Las Vegas.
Warning. This product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Your world moves fast. Welcome to Velo, the nicotine product that was made to keep up. Velo is the modern take on nicotine. They're pouches that are made for you, made for right now. Because with no spit, no smoke, and no hassles, there are no limits to where you can go. So whatever your destination is, Velo's ready. Velo, no limits. Visit Velo.com. Website restricted to age 21 plus tobacco consumers. Underage sale prohibited.
Are you ready for a whole new way of doing business? The Human Resources Game Changer is here. Hello, friends. Jim Nance letting you know that Insperity has put down roots in Las Vegas, bringing you a different kind of HR service. Human resource expertise, employee benefits, HR software. Insperity will redefine everything you thought you knew about an HR company. Get to know Insperity Vegas, because finally the HR Game Changer is here. Visit Insperity.com to find out more.
Are you interested in owning rental properties right here in the Las Vegas area? Auction.com, the nation's leading real estate auctioneer, must sell 102 rental properties in the Las Vegas and Henderson markets. These are turnkey, income-producing single-family homes and condos with tenants and leases in place. That's right, the tenants are in place and currently paying rent on over 100 homes to be auctioned individually at auction.com/radio. Financing is available and a broker co-op is being offered for this one-time unprecedented online auction to be held November 11th through 13th. Add more rentals to your portfolio, diversify your investments to add real estate, or buy your very first real estate investment. This is an auction that can't be missed. View all homes and auction details at auction.com/radio. That's www.auction.com/radio. Auction is subject to a reserve.
Hi, this is Harvey Blankfeld, host of Las Vegas Real Estate Now. Please tune in every Saturday at 11 a.m. and listen to us deliver timely, balanced truths about our market right here in Southern Nevada. You know, there's nothing that I enjoy more than educating our listeners about real estate, except maybe a well-prepared Reuben sandwich where the corned beef is really lean. Sorry, I digress. But please do tune in every Saturday at 11 a.m. and learn about real estate right here on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDON, the talk of Las Vegas.
SportsX Radio Nation, what's up? It's Ken Thompson, host of SportsX Radio, reminding you to catch me at my new time, 8 to 10 p.m. for all the local Vegas sports coverage, plus the national scene as well. That's SportsX Radio on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDWN.
Distracted driving means
danger,
recklessness,
irresponsible,
chaos, police,
devastation,
injury,
death.
Safe driving means staying alert and staying alive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON, the talk of Las Vegas. The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group. Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
And away we go on a Friday. It is the Vegas Take coming very live, 101.5 FM, 720 AM. K-Dawn, getting you set to roll into the weekend. So many topics to hit today. I'm Chris Wynn in for Brian Shapiro, J.D. Sharp on the way. A number of great guests also, as we have a very busy weekend on tap in the world of sports, entertainment, and, of course, all the news that has transpired, particularly over the past 48 hours. Joining us on the show today, of course, we'll have John Schaefer later to do the news. We'll also talk about the Barack Obama story that is just heating up the internet regarding the woke cancel culture broadcast. Also, we have great guests from Mr. X, who's going to join us later on in the show. He's going to talk a little bit about the situation with Hollywood and whether or not they're giving President Trump enough credit for killing the ISIS leader last week. Also, we'll talk about Kamala Harris as well, too. She is apparently the flavor that they like in Hollywood when it comes to the presidential candidates. So we'll get into that with Mr. X as well, too. Frank Rudy Cooper, he is a criminal law professor at UNLV. He's going to join us live in studio. We're going to talk about that story we talked about a little bit earlier in the week, where we discussed the story of the student who killed himself after years of verbal abuse from his girlfriend, what type of liability he may have. And we want to get your take on that as well, too. The phone line is 702-257-5396 is the phone line. You can also catch us streaming live on YouTube, so you can see our faces for radio, myself as well as J.D. Sharp. So a lot to get to. In the 11 o'clock hour, we'll be hitting big-time sports action for the weekend. Of course, a big fight weekend here in Vegas. And we'll have also Ken Thompson, the host of Sports X Radio right here on KDWN. He's going to join us. Of course, he does a great show centered around handicapping. So all the action, whether it's college football as well as the NFL, of course, NBA, and NHL action over the weekend. Of course, J.D. Sharp, who does this show down on Fridays down at the Palazzo at Legacy Stadium himself, along with Ken Thompson. They break down every game. So we're going to get into that with both J.D. and Ken coming up later on in the show. So J.D. Sharp joining us live in the studio. J.D., what's going on?
I'm just hanging out to see you win. Just loving life on a Friday.
Why wouldn't you? And, of course, it was Halloween last night.
It was.
And did you get a chance to partake with your lovely daughter as well as your wife? Get a chance to get out and maybe snag some candy?
I went trick-or-treating for approximately, I would say probably 45 minutes. It was definitely, it kind of reminded me of back home. Yeah. There was maybe 60 or 70 kids in my neighborhood. Mm-hmm. It was actually interesting. Some parents were outside, and there was a table for candy. There was a table for wine, and they were offering up wine to parents, which I've never actually heard of before. So that was interesting. It was definitely a different experience. I did not expect that type of experience in Las Vegas. It was more of a community atmosphere, and I barely know any of my neighbors, but I met a lot of them last night, so that was kind of cool.
And it was pretty nice too in my neighborhood because it's kind of like an older neighborhood. I mean, older meaning like the houses are from like the 80s and 90s, but still it was kind of a community feel. So, and my roommates, they're like hardcore into the Hollywood. The Halloween thing. So they were dressed up to the nines, and we had the massive bucket out on the porch, and it was just it was a festive atmosphere until we partaked in some adult activity. We ended up running downtown a little bit and bouncing around. And I'll tell you, JD, downtown last night, it was wild. There was some strange and interesting characters, to say the least, strolling around Fremont Street. We bounced around a couple of spots, some pre-gaming spots before. We went to Fremont Street, and it was.
I'm sure that was.
They were out in force, my friend. It was interesting to say the least. So, I hope everybody had a safe and happy Halloween, and everything's okay today. We're also going to have Brian Salmon also later on the show. JD, he's going to talk about the fights, and we'll get into him with a little bit of Raiders and NFL stuff too. Also, so big time slate for the Vegas take today. So once again, the phone number is 702-257-5396. Now, the big news story yesterday, of course, was the impeachment vote and the basically the vote to move forward with a process that's going to take place that's going to be more transparent, more out front, more public. And it's interesting because back in 1998, the last time there was an impeachment inquiry into President Bill Clinton, it was a little bit different. There was 31 Democrats in that actual vote that sided with Republicans. And to be honest with you, the White House was kind of happy that it was only 31. It could have been there could be even more Democrats that were going to, side with the Republicans. But I'm getting to a larger point here because we're in 2019, and it is super polarizing, JD. When we talk about Washington D.C. and the parties involved and people, I mean, it is just all out war right now, as far as people, just staying on their side. And so, on the vote yesterday, not a single House Republican, by the way, joined Democrats in supporting that resolution outlining the parameters for the next stage of impeachment proceedings.
So what are your thoughts on that, Chris?
So I think it's very telling. I think we're in a situation now where, and by the way, the Republicans have been demanding such a vote for weeks. So it's something that they've been able to partake in now, and we're going to see very public hearings and very public, basically testimony from a lot of the same people that have already testified. And this division, JD, I'm telling you, you're talking about a 232 to 196 vote. And it makes clear, and look, and this was described by the New York Times like this, as if both sides are pulling even further apart as they dig in deeper on the righteousness of their respective causes. That's the way it was described. Now, here's the way, JD, here's the deal. Democrats,
I don't usually
here's my opinion.
agree with the New York Times very often,
Yes.
but I agree with that assessment.
That's assessment right there. That
I
tells
think-
you a
I
lot,
think that's
doesn't it?
pretty accurate, yeah.
It does. It tells you where we are in this country right now when it comes to people taking sides and people, being steadfast in what direction they want this to go. And let me kind of break it down for you. I think it's like this. Democrats, are claiming that look, it's their constitutional duty to hold President Trump, who they believe is a lawless president, to account. And I think even though everybody understands that he's probably not going to be removed from office, it's going to be a lot of people, like myself included, who is, not necessarily a liberal. I am a more center left, but I am a never Trumper, right? Yet I still understand the reality. I think that there's a very good possibility it's going to end up just like it did with President Clinton, where he is impeached, but when it comes to the Senate, he's never going to be convicted and he's never going to be taken out of office. But I just think it's the principle of it, right? I think it's, look, you got to have some accountability when it comes to the President of the United States. Call me crazy, all right? But that's the Democrats' view. The Democrats are like, look, we got to hold this guy, to account. Meanwhile, you got the Republicans, and correct me if I'm wrong, and hit us up on the phone line, 702-257-5396. The Republican stance is this. The Republicans are like, look, we're going to back our guy, and he's being persecuted for political gain. And this is all, there's words being used like hoax, witch hunt, words that, you would not necessarily describe a process like this. So, to me, yes, JD, you asked the question, what do I think about this? I think that it is extremely polarizing. Obviously, it's not something that's good for the country, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do, right? I mean, you just can't, we've been talking about it for 3 years. Is he someone who has been held accountable? Is he someone, JD, that can walk in the middle of Fifth Avenue, shoot somebody, and get away with it? Is the president above the law?
Oh, I think that he has some extremist followers, and a couple call into the show on a consistent basis. One is named Brady, and I'll call him out, which I have no problem doing. He has extremist followers, but so does every president ever, and that's not going to change. And there's extremist followers on the left side and the right side. I'm sure Nancy Pelosi has some severely extremist followers. I'm sure Hillary Clinton had some beyond severely extremist followers, but it does show that there is. I mean, is this an unprecedented amount of division, do you think, Chris?
I think there is no question about it.
I mean,
because and I think it starts at the top. It's because of Trump. It's because of Donald Trump. He's a guy who
231 to 1. I mean, and you're talking the Republicans that are even in red or in blue states.
Yeah,
they all voted no. Every single one of them in the House.
And the two, by the way, Democrats who voted against proceeding with this impeachment inquiry are in Trump states. Okay, so their districts are in Trump states where Trump won.
Right.
So you can kind of, you can read between the lines, or you can just read through the lines as to why that was. So, look, Representative Peter King also commented on this. He says, look, it shows the bases are controlling both parties. with this vote and the way this went down. And Peter King was a guy, by the way, who ended up voting against Clinton's impeachment back in 1998. And so, I mean, he has some credibility when it comes to these types of issues. 702-257-5396 is the phone number. Chris Wynn in for Brian Shapiro along with J.D. Sharp on the Vegas Take on your Friday. Let's go out to the phone lines, get some opinions and outlook on this. Bruce joins us now here on the phone lines. Bruce, we appreciate the phone call. How are you?
What's up, Bruce?
Hey, Chris, JD, just real quick, man. It's kind of a breath of fresh air with you on there, Chris. I mean, God bless Brian. And I'm not going to say I'm Republican or Democrat. JD's heard me before. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I was a journeyman electrician for 28 years. Here's what matters to our country, Chris, JD. Okay? What matters is you have the opportunity for advancement. So that means good job opportunities, obviously. Our kids matter. Our education matters. Taking care of our elderly citizens that worked all their lives matter. Obviously, being a veteran, veterans matter. Everybody matters that's a legal U.S. citizen, Chris. And I tell Brian this about 3 times. No president ever changed my life. And I know J.D. is so level-headed. I love listening to him. Brian always cuts him off, won't let him finish his thoughts. You have to let J.D. say, like, more paragraphs than I've heard since I've been listening to these guys, Chris.
Hey, I appreciate the call, Bruce. Look,
thanks for the call, Bruce.
D-Shap is our guy. He's the guy, in my opinion, you know, he's a tremendous radio host. Does he push buttons sometimes? Does he sometimes drop names on people that, you know, I wouldn't necessarily do? Yeah, he does. That's his personality. But look, you know, I'm not going to sit here and, you know, impede Brian. Brian's, you know, I think the guy, you know, he has his convictions. He has his opinions. They're very strong opinions. And let's be honest out there, people, okay? There's a lot of listeners out there that would disagree with the standpoint of Brian and myself when it comes to either ideology or opinions on President Trump, right? Am I wrong on that, JD?
Well, particularly on this particular
on this topic,
on this station, on KDWN. Considering Sean Hannity follows us and Mark Levin follows him.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, obviously that a lot of our listenership disagree with you and Brian, and it's good that Brian and I disagree. I think it adds a nice dynamic.
It does, and it gives
for the conversation on a consistent basis. And a lot of the times when I get cut off, it's because we have time constraints, and there's specific idiosyncrasies within the radio business that we have to adhere to.
702-257-5396 is the phone number. You're tuned to the Vegas Take on your Friday. I am Chris Wynn, along with J.D. Sharp. Let's head on out to the phone lines, and we'll join J.D., who's here on the phone. J.D., how's your Friday going? Thanks for the call.
What's up, JD?
Hello, JD. Hello, Chris. It couldn't be any better. Thank you. I have to agree and disagree with you a little bit, Chris, what you're talking about, the impeachment. I think the whole program is, like some Congress people from the Democratic Party says, we have to impeach him because he is going to get reelected if we don't.
Right, I agree.
And I believe this whole impeachment is to damage his chances for reelection. In regard to the mentioning of, I hope he's okay, your co-host JD, he won't accept facts. That's his biggest problem. He won't check facts when people bring them to you, and he's also rude to you. He controls the show, he controls the buttons, and he won't even let you talk sometimes. He has a propensity to only want to hear his own words. Whenever you say something for a sentence or two, he interrupts so many times, and you are the quiet type. You're respectful, and you just sit there and listen most of the time. And when you do have something to say, I want to hear it, and I wish that little loudmouth would shut up and let you talk.
All right, look, JD, we don't want to get into a whole bashing, you know, Brian Shapiro here on the show.
Yeah,
I mean, we're talking about the inquiry.
I prefer JD respond to what I said.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Again,
JD's running the show again.
Thanks for the kind words. I appreciate that. I don't want to turn this into a Brian Shapiro roast, though. That's not my MO. But again, thank you. But I appreciate the kind words, JD.
When you do talk, I wish he would not interrupt you, JD.
And that's fair.
All right, so JD, you have to get your thoughts though on this impeachment inquiry. Do you think that this is something that the polarization in America? What can we do to fix it? Do you think there is a possibility that we can fix it when it comes to both sides just being stalwart in their convictions here?
After President Trump gets reelected,
He has to go on national TV or during the speech that you make. I can't think of the term of it now. It's an inauguration. Right. He has to say, I am sorry for some of the things I've done and said, and I am not going to do them anymore. I am going to extend an olive branch right here today to the other side. I commit to working with everyone in the Democratic Party. If they will meet me halfway on every issue that we have in front of us, I will meet them halfway. It is time to rebuild, time to reunite. It is time to put the pieces of this country back together again. If he makes a magnanimous statement like that, I think he has put the ball in their court, and the Democrats either have to respond as statesmen or then totally we lose the country.
Yeah, and I think that he still has time to kind of take his foot off the gas, like we discussed with Avenatti a couple of times. But let's be honest, President Trump is going to be 74 years old. If he continues at this torrid pace of attacking everybody who disagrees with him, the guy's going to die. I mean, and
the stress level is going to go through the roof, right? It already should have been gone through 3 years.
After he gets reelected, by the time he's 77 or 70, and I think he will get reelected, but by the time he's 77 or 78, I mean, he's just not gonna die if he keeps doing what he's doing. If he keeps being so aggressive towards anyone who disagrees with him.
Correct me if I'm wrong, JD, but did JD the caller say that the President Trump needs to apologize or say that he's sorry for some things that he said and some things that he did in his speech once he gets reelected? I think he just did say that. It made the comments that President Trump was going to apologize about something.
He did, which coming from him is kind of a surprise. But thanks for the call, JD. I appreciate it.
702-257-5396 is the number. We want you to chime in on these impeachment inquiries. It's going forward. It's going to be more public. We're going to have these witnesses testifying in public so that the American people can actually hear what they have to say. Frank joins us now on the phone lines. Frank, we appreciate the call. How are you?
What's up, Frank?
Well, first of all, you have my compliments. You made me chuckle, which humor and laughter is very good for the heart and the soul. But Chris, you, Brian, and Doug, and that entire ilk are aligned. Chris, did you ever see the movie The Killing Fields? I think it got nominated or got a couple of Oscars.
I may have seen it, but I don't remember it, so it obviously wasn't ingrained in my mind.
A line I'll never forget in the movie was, "This is the year zero," and my example to that is, "Why am I in jail today? I killed my wife yesterday. I didn't do anything today." Let me quickly go over Bubba Clinton, the impeached, disbarred, and proven pedophile. Whether you agree or not, that was nothing, and you were right. But what he got, he was indicted on 11 felonies. But the worst thing to the last of the 3rd Armored Division soldier was he gave not one but 2 nuclear reactors and $10 billion to North Korea for their electrical infrastructure. Not to mention, China now has ports in Long Beach, all up and down the West Coast. They have the Panama Canal, which we never should have given away. President Hussein, those drones that hit Saudi Arabia, they were little minis of what President Hussein landed, a brand new one. It just landed in Iraq, right in the desert. Any decent general worth his salt was blow that son of a gun up. But it didn't. We just handed it. I know what treason is. And this, whatever these impeachment charges are against Trump, pale in comparison. Oh, one more thing on the Clinton mafia hit. Chris, may I ask how old you are?
I'm 49 years old. And by the way, you're running down the list about Bubba, right? Okay, and we know Slick Willie. We know that there was some digression, no question, in this man's life. But if it doesn't matter. Let me ask you this question, okay? What if Bill Clinton was a mass murderer, a serial rapist? If Hillary Clinton was someone who just offed thousands of people, what does that have to do with Donald Trump and the charges that have been brought about him regarding the Ukrainian government to investigate a former vice president, Joe Biden, and his son? No matter what Bill Clinton did and what Hillary has allegedly done, what does that have to do with Donald Trump? It has nothing to do with Donald Trump. So I don't understand this argument that you want to go back 20. By the way, Bill Clinton has been president for 20 years, last time I checked, right?
You know,
I mean, so I don't really. I mean,
in all fairness, Bill Clinton, if he wasn't impeached for doing what he did with Monica Lewinsky from a position of power, he was actually a really, really good president. He was probably the most bipartisan president in the last 30 or 40 years. A lot was done during his presidency because he just kind of he kind of stood back and let the two parties work things out among themselves. And this is coming from a Republican making that statement.
Yeah, and all due respect, look, I mean, you made a lot of salacious, allegations there regarding Bill Clinton, and whether or not they're true, it hasn't been proven whatsoever that there's any leniency or that there's any credence to any of those. So 257-5396 is the phone number, 702. On the other side, we're going to take a quick break and come back, and we're going to keep talking about this as far as the impeachment inquiries and the public forum moving forward. I'm Chris Wynn in for Brian Shapiro, along with J.D. Sharp. You're tuned to the Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
It's called a smartphone for a good reason. With DriveWise on the Allstate app, your smartphone can help you get smarter about driving safer. DriveWise gives you real-time driving feedback, giving you the power to lower your insurance cost. In fact, safe drivers can save 40% or more. Connect and save with DriveWise. You're in good hands.
Download the Allstate app today. Savings may vary by state and driving behavior, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Use of Allstate Mobile with activation of DriveWise required. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Prescription products require an online physician consultation and are only available if the physician determines a prescription is appropriate. Subscription required. See website for full details and important safety information.
Hey guys, good news. The outrageously expensive little blue pill is now generic, which means you can get the prescription medication to treat ED at affordable prices. And Hims makes it extra affordable. And right now, get your first online visit totally free when you go to forhims.com/joy. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, forhims.com/joy. forhims.com/joy.
So how's your boy doing in school? Not so good. His grades are getting worse, and all he does is play video games, and when I finally get him to do his homework, he says he doesn't understand it. Oh, that sounds like my daughter. Well, not anymore. What do you mean not anymore? My daughter started going to the Infinity Math Institute about 3 months ago. I sent her there as a punishment because she got an F in math. Boy, was she mad at me. But 1 week later, she was talking about how much she liked it. Now she has an A in math, and all her other grades have gone up too. Get out of here. That sounds too good to be true. I know, but it is true. When I went down there to check it out, I couldn't believe how nice everything was and how everyone was so nice. I never knew anything like this even existed. I went to another tutoring place, and they were too expensive. It didn't help all that much. Infinity must be super expensive. That's the craziest thing. They're less expensive than any of the other places and so much more effective. You should call them. They even have scholarships for families with financial struggles. Tell them Sharp and Shapiro sent you for a discount. I will. What's their number? 702-768-1777. That's 768-1777, or you can visit them at themathinstitute.com. Don't get more math problems, get solutions.
Looking for that perfect new piece of furniture for your home? A New Concept Furniture is the place to start and end your search. They'll beat any price on the internet, and they're here locally, so you can feel what you're buying first. Go to A New Concept Furniture today at 4255 South Grand Canyon to see for yourself the slick, modern, shiny store that mirrors our shiny city. A New Concept. Check out their showroom or call them at 702-570-2240. That's 702-570-2240.
101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON, the talk of Las Vegas.
President Trump remains defiant in the face of a now formal impeachment inquiry in the House. More from correspondent Sarah Westwood at the White House.
He's continuing to attack the process and to defend that now infamous July 25th phone call with the president of Ukraine, even though this investigation by House Democrats has uncovered a lot more evidence that goes beyond the call. But last night he told the Washington Examiner he wants to read that call out loud to the American people.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi tells Bloomberg today that any impeachment will have to be ironclad.
What the president did vis-a-vis the president of Ukraine just removed all doubt that we had to act upon that.
Employers added a solid 128,000 new jobs in October, a figure that was held down by the now settled strike against General Motors that caused tens of thousands of workers to be temporarily counted as unemployed. On Wall Street, the Dow was up about 240. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads in the KDON Traffic Center.
Traffic sponsored by the Broken Yoke Cafe in Town Square. New wreck on the west side, 215 Western Beltway northbound. Flamingo off-ramp currently blocked with this crash. We do have crews on scene. 95 northbound, Lake Mead Boulevard off-ramp. Another crash. This is at the bottom of the ramp, closer to the intersection. Tropicana eastbound near Eastern. Another injury crash for you. Same story. Cheyenne eastbound at Civic Center. Broken Yoke Cafe near Town Square is open daily for breakfast, brunch, and lunch. Enjoy excellent portions, excellent quality, and excellent service. See why Broken Yoke Cafe is Vegas's new spot. I'm Bradley J. in the KDON Traffic Center.
Hey, it's Lee Goldberg of the GCI guys at Realty One Group. Do you know anyone that's looking to buy a home, sell a home, rent, move from California? If so, give them my number, 702-902-3029. All listeners of the Vegas Take get $1,000 in your hand back at closing. Hometown heroes, veteran, military, police, teacher, nurse, I'm giving you $2,000 back. That also goes for hospitality and casino employees. Free use of a moving truck for a day, 6 free months of home security. Call me, 702-902-3029, the GCI guys.
Are you or a loved one struggling to hear despite using hearing aids? It might be time to ask a doctor about cochlear implants.
My cochlear implant gave me access to the sounds that I've been missing. I'm back to being me, and I'm unstoppable.
Cochlear implants are routinely covered by Medicare and most private insurance plans for those who meet the health plan criteria. Ready to be unstoppable? Call 833-700-HERE to learn more and find a doctor near you. Again, that's 833-700-HEAR.
Sponsored by Cochlear.
Right now, Doctors Without Borders medical teams are operating in some of the most remote and dangerous corners of the world. When front yards become front lines, at the crossroads of conflict and epidemic, where there are no hospitals, that's where we operate. Your response is critical to our response in places where few others will go. That's where we operate. Learn more at doctorswithoutborders.org.
Hey, it's Brian Shapiro from the Vegas Take Care, and now it's time for Infinity's Fun Fact of the Day.
The most published book in the history of man is the Bible. The second most published book is Euclid's Elements. Written 2,500 years ago, it is the same math that is taught in school today.
Don't forget to visit themathinstitute.com for more information on how to make your child the most successful student they can be.
Family Promise of Las Vegas, please leave a message.
I've been laid off my job, so we're facing eviction. I have 2 daughters.
I'm calling for emergency shelter for me and my 2.5-year-old son.
I'm a single father with a 14-year-old daughter looking for emergency shelter.
Join with Family Promise of Las Vegas, where our mission is to bring homeless families with children home again, one family at a time. Visit fplv.org and become a friend of our family today.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
I don't know why the Republicans are afraid of the truth.
Welcome back. It's the Friday edition of the Vegas Take, coming away live here, 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON. Chris went in for Brian Shapiro along with J.D. Sharp. Top of the hour, we'll have Frank Rudy Cooper live in studio. He's a criminal law professor at UNLV. He's going to break down the story we talked about earlier in the week regarding a student who killed himself after years of verbal abuse by his girlfriend, and what she could face as far as legal action and what the possible roadblocks are to extradition in the case. So we'll get into that with him as well live in studio here. So we've been talking about, of course, the impeachment inquiry, but we're joined now by the esteemed newscaster that is John Schaefer, joining us live in studio with all the latest stories. John, what's going on?
Well, the Nevada Highway Patrol is looking for a man who rammed a trooper's patrol car in the Rio parking garage. That's where the trooper spotted a Dodge Challenger that had been reported stolen. But before the trooper could get out of his car, the suspect rammed into the car, then fled. The Challenger later found abandoned near the Boulevard Mall. Suspect described as a heavyset Hispanic male with a goatee who was wearing a San Francisco 49ers jersey and khaki shorts.
So I'm guessing 2 scenarios could possibly be down here. The car could have been blocked by the troop, by the car, and wasn't able to get out of a certain parking area, or there could have been some type of impairment that the person was involved in.
I think he had the Niners minus 10 last night.
Yes.
Lost his bet in the last 5 minutes, and then, that happened.
That's possible. federal judge in Nevada has dismissed a lawsuit that invoked sex trafficking laws in a bid to close the nation's only legal brothels. U.S. District Judge Miranda Dew said in her ruling that she empathized with 3 women who claim they were victims of sexual violence in Nevada and other states. However, the judge said the women live in Texas, and she wasn't convinced the profound harm they said they suffered was due to Nevada's prostitution laws.
Of course, this is something that is, specific to Nevada, this industry, but these types of stories are just horrific, and you don't want to, if there's any possibility that there's any truth to them or that they could have happened, it's something that you do not want any part of.
And they're also not specific to Clark County.
Right.
Because prostitution is illegal in Clark County.
Correct. University of Nevada, Reno President Mark Johnson has announced plans to step down this summer after more than 8 years on the job. He's going to transition to a faculty position. Johnson said in a statement Thursday, serving as the university's 16th chief executive has been the responsibility of a lifetime.
So an opportunity to go from, the penthouse down to, just be a regular working guy now, right? For the university. It's kind of like, maybe there's a passion there that he's looking forward to taking advantage of.
Like LeBron James wants to be a chef at some point in his life.
Yeah. Well, it's more like JD. It'd be more like LeBron playing for the G League team.
Oh, okay.
It would be for the Lakers.
Either there's more to the story and he was being told you can stay on as a faculty member, but you're not going to lead anymore, or he's decided I've done it long enough to get my PERS at the highest level when I retire. I don't need the stress anymore. I'll just take a lower paying job now and I'll still get the maximum retirement when I'm done.
Makes total sense.
Yeah. New poll finds that most people across the country want to stop the twice-a-year ritual of clock changes. The Associated Press NORC Center for Public Affairs research poll comes as this weekend marks the end of daylight saving time. Found that 7 in 10 Americans prefer not to switch back and forth. 4 in 10 would like to see their clocks stay on standard time year-round, while 3 in 10 would prefer to stay on daylight saving time. About another 3 in 10 prefer the current back and forth between daylight saving in the summer and standard in the winter. At least 7 state legislatures have asked Congress to allow year-round daylight saving time.
Not something that is life-altering, right, gentlemen? And I don't think it's something that's going to, it's going to be hugely monumental. Now, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the United States is one of the only countries that even partakes in daylight savings time. I think a lot of countries around the world don't even.
So it screws up all airlines because now all your flight times have to change. You have to go in and change all your computers. Arizona and Hawaii don't change, so half the year we can walk to the future across the Hoover Dam, and the other half are on the same time. And again, if 7 in 10 Americans want it done, it's nice to know that the will of the people doesn't ever get taken care of.
That is nice. 70% is not majority.
So John, JD got a chance to head out with the family and do some trick-or-treating yesterday for Halloween. Not myself. I went downtown, got a chance to bounce around a little bit. What'd you have on the docket for Halloween last night?
I was watching the Golden Knights game and didn't get interrupted except for one time from the one trick-or-treater who was my next-door neighbor.
Really?
Yeah.
So I've got a story about this Knights game, Chris.
Okay.
So I had Arizona plus 10.5, which hit, and then I had the Pelicans plus 4 in a 3-team parlay. That also. Then I had the Golden Knights minus 240 money line. Supposed to be a nice, easy win at home against against the inferior Canadians, and they managed to lose that game outright in overtime, 5-4.
When, by the way, they had a 4-2 lead with, I believe, 6 or 7 minutes left in the game and still found a way to cough it up.
Is this team as good as people thought they were? I mean, honest to God, they're 8-7 right now. Fleury has shown a lot of. He looks very vulnerable, more than he's ever looked at as a Golden Knight member. What do you think, John? You watch all these games.
Yeah, I was shocked at last night's game when they scored, when they pulled their goalie and scored with a minute and a half left. You can't let that happen.
No, I totally agree.
Especially at home.
But that being said, we're 15 games in.
We are. We are. But I mean,
you might want to take a step back on the.
There's a lot of chinks in the armor. I think that I haven't seen before.
Got to jump ship early.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how many games there are.
That's true.
I've given up on the Redskins.
Hey, you and everybody else that are Redskins fans, my friend.
I believe they're almost mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. Actually,
they're mathematically eliminated from next year's playoffs too, I think.
John Schaefer, we appreciate it. Have a great weekend, my friend.
You too.
Thanks, John.
Yeah. 702-257-5396 is the phone number. You're tuned to the Vegas Take. I'm Chris Wynn in for Brian Shapiro, along with JD Sharp. In top of the show, we were talking about the impeachment inquiry, right, and the formal process that's going forward, an opportunity to have, I guess it's fair to say, more transparency, right? We're going to actually be able to see and hear these people. It's not going to be behind closed doors, okay? So There's not going to be able to be any claims by Republicans, Democrats, anybody, that it's not a transparent process going forward when it comes to this impeachment process. So let's go back out to the phone lines. We have some callers waiting online that want to chime in. Let's go out to Stephen. Stephen, thank you very much for calling the Vegas Take. How are you today?
What's up, Stephen?
Yes, hello, JD, and thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely.
I recall about 35 years ago when
Jinx.
I graduated from law school and came to Las Vegas, started getting introduced to talk radio, which was a lot different 35 years ago, but KDON was definitely the leader. I soon came across a documentary called Endgame, Endgame. It's on a whole page. If you do a search, folks, I recommend it highly. It shows you the swamp's involvement in Mao's China, in Stalin's Soviet Union, and Hitler's Nazi Germany. Also shows you how these people have decided that they don't want this country around anymore. That's why they shipped so much of our money over to China and built them up in an intentional and deliberate attempt to destroy your country, folks. And I've always thought that talk radio, if this country can be saved, and if freedom dies here, it dies everywhere. If it can be saved, it will be through talk radio. And what's important on talk radio? Well, JD knows it. Frank knows it. Many of the callers that I've heard called idiots on this program, unfortunately, in the past, and I hope it's the past, when they're called idiots, it's because somebody disagrees with them, and that is not recognizing the number one First Amendment, why there's a constitutional republic, and that is freedom of speech. Once we start arresting people, not just hollering and screaming at them, telling them they're idiots, but having people arrested for what they say, then we're heading the wrong way. And that brings me to the impeachment inquiry. Nancy says that everybody's subject to the rule of law and has to obey the law. And Nancy, I agree with you totally. I want Joe Biden and his son to face a jury and explain to them. I've seen Joe's clip where he says that he wanted the prosecuting attorney fired. Otherwise,
well, Stephen, look, there already has been, it's already been handled when it comes to Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, whether or not there was wrongdoing there. It's already been handled. It's already been established that there hasn't been that. Now, you bring up Nancy Pelosi.
Up by the swamp.
Yes, but the reason
hasn't been handled in a court of law.
There's not an impeachment. The impeachment inquiry, Stephen, is about President Trump. It's not about Joe Biden. It's not about Hunter Biden. It's about the President of the United States, the current president. Okay, so I mean, you're all due respect. You're bringing up something.
Why Trump exists?
Trump exists for a number of reasons. There's a lot of reasons why Trump exists.
Obama existed because of George Bush. George Bush existed because of Bill Clinton. The American people are easily swayed.
That's a very you're looking at it very simplistically, though, Stephen. There's a number of reasons why.
You dump fluoride in the water, you take away people's IQs, and they're easily led. Now, I don't know how many people will watch that video. I hope a lot.
Yeah.
End the game, the movie. End the game, the movie. Thank you.
Stephen, we appreciate the call. Look, Stephen. I mean, he hit on a number of topics there. He started off with talking about talk radio, JD.
Yeah, talk
and
radio.
I would argue this. Talk radio.
Influencing the country.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much influence it has. What talk radio is, it's an opportunity. It's a forum, right, JD? For people to express their opinions, for people to debate, for people to talk about topics.
Well,
by the way, for people to present facts.
That's true.
Okay.
Now, and the thing about talk radio, and I agree with him to an extent, because when you listen to a music station, and some of these music stations are extremely highly rated, but you already know the songs. You know, it's in your subconscious. When you listen to talk radio, when you listen to me, when you listen to you,
yes,
you have to listen to what we say and then form your own opinions, and relate those to your life. And to do that, you have to be attentive. You have to actually be actively listening to what we're saying, and that's what really separates talk radio from any other form of radio. And that's typically my pitch to advertisers,
right?
To be honest with you, because our listeners are much more attentive than a different station. Because again, if you're listening to a song, and I'm not faulting any other music station, but when you listen to a song, you typically know that song. and it's in the back of your head. It doesn't require a lot of thought. You're on autopilot. When you listen to me and you and Brian and whoever else we have on the show, you're not on autopilot. And that's why talk radio is so awesome.
702-257-5396 is the phone number on your Friday. It is the Vegas Take. Chris Wynn, J.D. Sharp, live in studio. Brady joins us now live on the show. Brady, what's going on?
What's up, Brady?
Yeah, good morning. I'm Brian's favorite idiot. I've probably been called that more than anybody on this show.
I would say that's probably true.
Well, Brady, hey, let's be honest, though, Brady. You get him fired up. You know, you do push buttons. You're not afraid to be controversial at times.
And I appreciate your passion.
Yes.
Well, what I wanted to bring up, though, I mean, you got to go back to when Barack Obama was there, and he had Joe Biden as his point man over in the Ukraine saying, I'm not going to give you guys any funding for your military, or if, you know, if you don't do this, this, and this. And Biden went over there and said, okay, we got this prosecutor fired. Son of a B, you know, I got him fired. Well, that is the definition of quid pro quo, whatever how you say that.
But Brady, it had nothing to do with Hunter Biden, though.
Quid pro
quo. It
quo.
wasn't about Hunter Biden. It was about the corruption over there that we were concerned about. It wasn't about Hunter. See, that's the thing. Like, I mean, I can just ask you flat out, Brady. Why is there no criminal charges been pressed against Joe Biden or Hunter Biden? Why has there been no criminal charges whatsoever? Why is there been nothing?
He's one of the deep state. He's there. And just like what happened yesterday, you guys aren't even mentioning the spy that was revealed yesterday, who the whistleblower was. It was Eric Charmelli. And guess who he worked for? Barack Obama, James Clapper, Brennan, and good old Joe Biden. So this is going to get exposed real quick. You guys, the Democrats, you can hide behind the curtains all you want, but Mr. Durham got your number. This stuff is going to get exposed by Christmas, and there's going to be a lot of people going to jail.
I don't know about hiding behind curtains. I don't know what you mean by that. There's going to be more exposure now. There's going to be more transparency. There's going to be more, opportunity for us to find the truth. Everybody, I think anybody that's reasonable and rational, Brady, wants to know the truth. We don't care about, conspiracy theories or what you think some person should go to jail for or what you think that should have happened, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It's about the truth coming out, and it's about accountability.
One thing I would have to say is you keep bringing up, well, they haven't gone to jail. There's one thing in life. You listen 1 second, though. Just because people haven't gone to jail doesn't mean there wasn't a crime committed. Remember that. And there's been many crimes committed, from Barack Obama to the Clinton Foundation to Clapper to Comey to Brennan, the FBI, the CIA, the deep state, the witch hunt that's going on right now. And we're just sick of it. We are damn sick of what's going on. And if you keep it up, there's going to be a civil war. Mark my words.
Well, I understand you because you're a Trump supporter that you're gonna call it things like a hoax and a witch hunt, and I get that.
What do you call it?
I call it an inquiry into impeachment because there's a possibility of wrongdoing because the President of the United States is not above the law, and there are certain things that are shady that have gone on here
they're asking,
that could be trouble for him.
And by inquiry, they're asking the question: should Donald Trump be impeached? Is basically
right.
Or
that's what they're posing the question.
Removed from office.
Brady.
And obviously, I don't think that's going to take place.
Brady, we appreciate the phone call.
Yeah,
Have a good weekend,
call, Brady.
okay?
Appreciate it.
702.
I think the Civil War is an absolute stretch.
Yes, I mean, and by the way, there are other shows that's the forefront. That's what we're talking about.
That was
People
200 years ago.
They're going to pick up arms,
do you realize,
right, JD?
Do you realize how you take 50,000 members of the military, you spread them out in every major city where there's going to be some type of civil unrest.
Mm-hmm.
Their weaponry is twice as powerful as anything that a militia would have. I mean, it would get dropped so fast it would be ridiculous. A civil war is just not going to take place, in my personal opinion. Now, will there be riots in the streets? Will there be specific extremists? It's going to come down to extremist views. Extremists on the left and extremists on the right, whether it's Antifa and whatever those groups are, they'll be in war, and I'm sure there'll be some minor casualties along the way. And innocent people will probably die. But it's not going to be an outright civil war. I don't believe that that's going to take place. We're too far along with technology, and again, the military is too powerful, and it's too easy to move the military around and put them wherever they need to be placed to stop something like this.
Well, to be any type of civil war, right, JD, you got to have an opposition, right? You have to have people out there. So you bring up Antifa. I don't know, what the mass, the majority of the people on the left would get out in the streets if President Trump was impeached or taken out of office, or or somehow went through some type of criminal proceeding where he ended up incarcerated.
And
that would cause a civil war, right?
And
as far as the people on the right are concerned.
Even if that were to happen, I don't think a civil war would come of that. And again, I don't think that's going to take place.
702-257-5396. We're talking about this impeachment inquiry going public and what this means as far as polarization in the country and your thoughts on that out there. Let's get Wilfrey on the line here. Wilfrey, thanks for calling the Vegas Take. What's going on?
What's up, Wilfrey?
Well, I'm not sure I know where to begin. But we'll give it a shot. First, let me identify myself, okay? You guys are Trump haters disguised as a variety talk show. And what amazes me is
I'm not a Trump hater, Wilfrey. I'm a never Trumper. I'm not a Trump hater. I'm a never Trumper. And JD is not. By the way, JD is not a Trump hater by any stretch of the imagination.
I disagree with him.
And look, full disclosure,
sometimes.
Wilfrey. Full disclosure. I heard your diatribe that you went on last night with Pat on Steve's show, and it was I understand. Look, you got all kinds of fired up talking about how Brian should be booted off and all this stuff, and you were going on a complete tangent as far as getting just absolutely. I thought you were gonna your head was gonna pop off how steamed up you were getting talking to Pat about the Vegas Take. And look, you have your opinions are strong. That's fine, but we are an open forum, and we are a show that lets everybody have their opinion. And so that's why that's why. Look, Wilfrey, you're having an opportunity to be on the show here and express your views. Okay, unlike some other shows that I'm not going to name.
So I've got 6 words out before you jump in. Now, can I finish what I was saying?
Well, you called us Trump haters. You called us all Trump haters, so we have to respond to that.
Wilfrey, you called me a Trump hater, and I'm not a Trump hater.
Can I start over and finish my statement?
Okay.
Get more than 6 words in. All right. Now, I consider you people to be Trump haters disguised as a variety talk show. Now, here's what bothers me about this. Okay, one is to see this type of scenario begin to emerge. And the other is that you're actually quite qualified young men. That's why I came to see you at Rodizio's, whatever, so that I could make a judgment in person.
Rodizio.
So, but you are, in my opinion, you can say anything you want to say, but you're Trump haters, or you're supporting that of Brian. Now, Brian Shapiro is what we call Alan Berg. Have you looked up Alan Berg?
I have not. No.
Look up Alan Berg in old talk radio shows.
I know who Alan Berg is.
He was a hate talk. He was a hate.
Alan Berg was actually. What you just suggested is it might be a problem. What are you trying to say now, Wilfrey? Because Alan Berg, there was a movie made about Alan Berg called Talk Radio.
And I have one quick question
have you
for
seen
you,
that
Wilfrey,
movie?
too.
No, stop. Have you seen that movie, Wilfrey?
Pardon?
Have you seen Talk Radio, the movie?
No, I haven't. But
Okay.
I was talking to some older men.
Okay. Well, Alan Berg was basically the premise. I mean, he's the reason why that movie was made. And what you're suggesting to me is an issue. So why exactly are you making parallels with Brian Shapiro and Alan Berg?
Well, because we've never heard such viciousness, such lying, vicious, bullying. We've never seen a degree of anything like this. He calls people's names, insults their families. You bring deviants and perverts on your show. And we're trying to say, wait a minute, J.D. sounds nice, and we realize you're really support for him, J.D.
What are you talking about?
Now, respectfully, I want to tell you something. J.D., I like you, and I think you have a great family. But none of my Republican friends would let Brian Shapiro say the nasty, vile things he says to people. We'd be in his face every 3.5 seconds. To sit there next to this man and let him say the things he does, in my opinion, if you're a Republican, like I'm a I don't know what you call me, level 7/4/8, I guess. I'm a right winger, but the point is, I don't know where you fit in, but you certainly wouldn't fit into my group to let a man say that, to call a man's son a scumbag. You don't attack children. You don't attack the children of men and women. My point is that, JD, I'm very disappointed where you're at.
Well, you're suggesting
Brian.
that I should be getting in my co-host's face on a consistent basis.
The villainous.
Actually, physically, nearly physically assaulting my co-host on a consistent basis, and you think that that's a smart way to operate?
I didn't say physically.
Well, Wilfrey,
you
let me ask you a question.
3 feet or 3.5 seconds, right in his face. That's what you mean. If I got in my co-host face,
the comments that this man makes are so vicious, so vile, so disparaging.
They're not, Wilfrey. They're not. Name one thing. Can you name one thing? By the way, I got to defend Brian here.
Absolutely.
Wilfrey. Name one thing. Wilfrey, let me ask you a question real quick, Wilfrey, because we don't have much time. Wait, name one thing that Brian Shapiro has said on this air that's not true. Name one thing where he has called out people's kids, like you say. He said vile things about. All he said is that he doesn't like Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a horrible person. He thinks he's. That's all he says. That's like the worst thing he said.
He does
yes,
say
it's
that
called
on a consistent basis.
Yeah, on a consistent basis. But name Wilfrey. Can you name one thing that Brian Shapiro has lied about on this show that's incorrect? That's not factual. Name one thing.
So if I might,
you can't. You can't name one thing. Wilfrey.
Yeah, this is where Brian hangs up.
No. Well, we have to hang up because we're short on time, Wilfrey. But look, I asked you a question, simple question. You couldn't give me an answer. And this is the deal. Look, you want to get on here and you want to bash Brian Shapiro, okay? The guy doesn't come on the air and lie. He has an opinion. It's a strong opinion, but he doesn't come on and say things that are not true.
And let's
right?
be honest.
JD, am I wrong?
Am
I wrong here?
I don't think that you're incorrect here. And Brian Shapiro he's my co-host. He is my friend, and I'm not going to get in his face and disagree with him and threaten to physically assault him or physically intimidate him because he disagrees with me. You know what that is definition of? Fascism, Will. And right now you sound like a effing fascist. Grow up.
It's a Friday edition, the Vegas Take. I'm Chris Wynn in for Brian Shapiro along with J.D. Sharp. More on the other side after this.
Hi, Mark Hale here with Today's Energy Store. Look, when it comes to solar energy, you have lots of choices. That's the facts. SunPower by Today's Energy Store has the best solar panels, period. We treat every customer with the utmost respect and offer fair, honest pricing right up front. No sales gimmicks, no bait and switch, no pushy salespeople. The other guys can keep doing that. At Today's Energy Store, you get honest answers and the most efficient solar panels in the industry. Give us a call at 702-558-1500. That's 702-558-1500. Demand better solar.
Warning. This product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. The world is changing. Isn't it time smoking changed too? Vuse Alto is a vapor product offering you a satisfying alternative to cigarettes. Simple to use, surprisingly quiet, and impressively powerful. Our best vapor yet at our best price ever, 99 cents, plus tax at participating retailers. 99-cent offer applies to Alto device. Pods sold separately. Underage sale prohibited.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from the Vegas Take Care. I want to share with you a story. I was driving to meet somebody for lunch in the valley one day when I was stopped at a red light, hit from behind by a driver going around 40 miles an hour. My car was totaled. I suffered injuries. I needed help. I contacted Van Law Firm. Within a few days, I was getting the medical treatment I needed, and within 6 months, I received the maximum settlement. Give Van Law Firm a call, 702-500-HURT, for a free consultation. You pay nothing unless they win. It's the Van Law Firm. Call them, 702-500-HURT, and mention you heard it from the Vegas Take.
Sunday nights, it's Steve Sanchez.
Wake the heck up.
Live from the Undisclosed Bunker Studios, with a Constitution in one hand and a Bible in the other. Sundays from 7 to 10 p.m. on News Talk 720 KDWN.
Hi, this is Sabrina Chapman inviting you to join me every Sunday from noon to 12:30 p.m. for my new show, Mommies, Meetings, and Mimosas. We'll be interviewing the leading Las Vegas ladies that are handling business and motherhood like a boss. Only on 101.5 FM, 720 KDON.
Moving and eating better every day can help make you and your kids healthier. Search We Can online to find out more. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
Whoa, long time no see. It's me, the Rock t-shirt in the back of your closet. Dude, remember? You crowd surfed in me, man. But you haven't worn me in like forever. I get it, you're retired, but I still got some rock left in me. So take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff. Create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Kilmeade, Hannity, Levin, 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN, Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
Halloween Hangover. Open hearing soon. I'm Mike Moss. 4 people are dead and at least 3 others wounded at a Halloween night party shooting at a large rental home in a wealthy San Francisco Bay Area community. The neighbors were stunned.
It was terrifying in the first moments just because we didn't know what was going on, and a lot of our neighbors were worried people might be still doing things that were dangerous. But now it's just kind of frustrating.
Chicago Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson is asking for public help to find the person whose bullet accidentally hit a 7-year-old girl who was out trick-or-treating last night. She's now in critical condition.
I'm asking all media outlets to use your airtime, websites,
and newspapers to call for help in solving this case of a little girl who clings to life. I ask you for your prayers for this most vulnerable of victims. I also ask for your eyes and ears. Together, we can bring these individuals to justice.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi tells Bloomberg open impeachment proceedings could begin this month.
For a long time, I've resisted weighing the equities of whether this was divisive for the country, but what the president did vis-a-vis the president of Ukraine just removed all doubt that we had to act upon that.
128,000 new jobs created last month. Correspondent Christine Roman says that's better than expected.
Where is the hiring? We saw it in food services, restaurants and bars. We saw business, 22,000 jobs there. Manufacturing, that, folks, is that GM strike. That GM strike, as you know, was 6 weeks long. It was nearly 50,000 workers.
The unemployment rate ticked up 0.1 point to 3.6%. Russia says there's not enough time left for Moscow and Washington to negotiate a replacement for the START nuclear arms treaty before it expires in February 2021. On Wall Street, the Dow up 239, S&P up 21. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads in the KDON Traffic Center.
Traffic sponsored by the Broken Yoke Cafe in Town Square. Pair of problems remain on the 215 Western Beltway. We have one of them southbound at Town Center off left. Next one, northbound Flamingo off ramp, mostly in the Gore area. Southbound 95 Charleston off ramp. Another crash that's tucked away to the right shoulder. And one more on the 95 northbound Lake Mead Boulevard off ramp. Broken Yoke Cafe near Town Square is open daily for breakfast, brunch, and lunch. Enjoy excellent portions, excellent quality, and excellent service. See why Broken Yoke Cafe is Vegas's new it spot. I'm Bradley J. in the KDON Traffic Center.
For more than a year, the whole of Vermont was captivated by the hunt for a runaway golden retriever. Read Catching Murphy, the latest book from the Associated Press. Available now exclusively at Amazon.com.
Are you interested in owning rental properties right here in the Las Vegas area? Auction.com, the nation's leading real estate auctioneer, must sell 102 rental properties in the Las Vegas and Henderson markets. These are turnkey, income-producing single-family homes and condos with tenants and leases in place. That's right, the tenants are in place and currently paying rent on over 100 homes to be auctioned individually at auction.com/radio. Financing is available and a broker co-op is being offered for this one-time unprecedented online auction to be held November 11th through 13th. Add more rentals to your portfolio, diversify your investments to add real estate, or buy your very first real estate investment. This is an auction that can't be missed. View all homes and auction details at auction.com/radio. That's www.auction.com/radio. Auction is subject to a reserve.
The question I get all the time is, how much do your loans really cost? I mean, are they super expensive?
First of all, if you need a loan for a week, just a few days, a month, whatever, you only pay interest for the time you have the loan out. There are no other fees at all, and we do not compound our interest like some of the other online lending scammers.
Okay, I'm with you so far, but how much exactly?
Let's use a $1,000 loan as an example. The interest would cost you $550 a day, and if you need the loan for 10 days, the interest cost would be $55.
So a $100 loan for the same 10-day time frame would only cost $5.50 in interest?
Yes, sir, with no other fees at all, just interest for how long you keep the loan out. It's way cheaper than a bounce check, huh?
That was Chuck, founder of Dollar Loan Center. We have over 50 locations, our contracts are crystal clear, and you always know exactly what you're getting into.
Licensed by the Nevada Financial Institutions Division. Annual percentage rate of 199.99%. For additional cost information, call 866-550-4352. Certain limitations may apply. Loans are subject to approval.
Looking for that perfect new piece of furniture for your home? A New Concept Furniture is the place to start and end your search. They'll beat any price on the internet, and they're here locally, so you can feel what you're buying first. Go to A New Concept Furniture today at 4255 South Grand Canyon to see for yourself the slick, modern, shiny store that mirrors our shiny city. A New Concept. Check out their showroom or call them at 702-570-2240. That's 702-570-2240.
Join Coach Harvey Hyde and Chuck Hayes Saturday evenings from 9 to 10 p.m. for Trojan Football Report, presented by South Point Hotel and Casino, here on 101.5 FM and 720 AM KDWN, where Las Vegas comes to talk.
Imagine a time when no one person has Parkinson's disease, is debilitated by a stroke, and no family suffers the tragedy of Alzheimer's. Some of the best minds in America are doing more than imagining. The American Brain Foundation is seeking to find cures, where life without brain disease isn't just something we can imagine, it's something we can know.
Join Kevin Sorbo in the fight to cure brain disease. For more information, visit AmericanBrainFoundation.org.
720 on the AM, 1015 FM. Yeah, now on FM. The only FM news talk station in Las Vegas. KDON. Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Top of the 10 o'clock hour, it is the Vegas Take, coming away live, 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON. Chris Wynn in for Brian Shapiro, along with J.D. Sharp. You can follow us on all our social media streams. Of course, we have the Facebook page, as well as we're on Twitter, Instagram, as well at the Vegas Take. And you can also see us live right now on YouTube TV, as our show is streaming live there as well, too. So we have been talking about the situation regarding President Trump and the impeachment inquiry, and the reaction from around the country and the polarization and where everybody is at on both sides of this issue. And we will continue to do so throughout pending. But right now we have on the phone lines, we're going to discuss a story that we talked about earlier in the week, which was a unique and tragic story out of the Boston area, where a young man about just hours away from graduating from Boston College ended up jumping to his death, and his girlfriend has been charged in the case, and something that is extremely unique, to say the least. And joining us now on the phone line is Frank Rudy Cooper. He's a criminal law professor at UNLV, to give us his perspective when it comes to the possibility of extradition and what this means from a legal standpoint. Frank, we enjoy and appreciate you jumping on the Vegas Take with us on our Friday.
Thanks a lot, Frank.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me on. The main thing that I wanted to say was just this is a really unusual criminal law case, and I can break down a little bit what are the elements that the prosecutor is going to have to prove.
Yeah, because, look, international law experts are saying that this is a novel legal theory of applying manslaughter charges to suicide cases. That could be a severe obstacle. Right now we're talking about In Young Yu. She's a 21-year-old from South Korea who's charged in the involuntary manslaughter in the death of her 22-year-old boyfriend, Alexander Utula of New Jersey. Authorities said jumped from the top of a Roxbury parking garage on May 20th. He was just hours away from graduating from B.C. And now apparently she's returned to South Korea after his death and withdrew from classes at Boston College in August. Now, look, like, Frank, we talked about this earlier in the show, and my point of view was kind of this. I mean, it seemed to me, using the analogy, opening up a can of worms with respect to, charging this woman in this case. Now, look, no one denies that, she could be just an awful human being. But what does this mean from a legal standpoint when you can actually press charges regarding, verbal abuse towards someone and they end up killing themselves?
Oh, I absolutely agree with you. It's a can of worms. There's one precedent in Massachusetts recently, and the basic idea is there are 4 things that a prosecutor has to prove in every case when they're trying to convict somebody. So the first thing is that there has to have been some kind of action. You can't be prosecuted for a thought crime. Second thing is that you have to have had the mental state that's required for that particular crime. So that just means you have to have had a certain degree of desiring the social harm of the crime. And when we're talking about somebody getting dead, well, that's the social harm. We don't want people getting dead. So you have to have had some degree of desiring that that person get dead. The third thing is that you have to have caused the social harm. So you have to have caused this person to get dead. And the fourth thing is that the defendant has to have no defenses. So the defendant could say, yes, I did that, but there was somebody holding a gun to my head and they made me do X, Y, or Z. So the key thing here, as you said, is this idea of bringing a manslaughter charge for somebody committing suicide. And a manslaughter charge is going to require in Massachusetts that there was a sort of wanton disregard for life. And that wanton disregard for life means that it's not just that I was negligent, like I was stupid. I everybody else in the world would, or every reasonable person in the world would have figured out that this guy was going to jump to his death if I kept pushing him, but I didn't figure it out. It's something higher. It's more like recklessness, which is mean-spiritedness. That's where I see that this guy's about to jump to his death, and I just keep pushing him, and I know that I'm going to probably bring about his death, but I just don't care. I'm just a mean person. And so wantonness in Massachusetts is kind of in between that negligence or stupidity and that recklessness or meanness. And so that's what we got to figure out here is, first of all, was she a sort of really mean person with respect to getting him dead?
So, and this is, Chris, you mentioned the slippery slope of, if you tell someone to jump off a bridge and they jump off the bridge, I think this is totally different because she sent 47,000 text messages over 3 months to this guy. I mean, how does that factor in, Frank?
Well, absolutely, that's a problem because we need some evidence that she did some kind of action, as I said, and that's a lot of action, right? 47,000 texts or whatever it was.
That's a ton of text messages.
So that's a lot. However, usually when we create homicide statutes, we're not thinking that somebody's going to, say mean words to you and you're going to jump off a bridge. That's not what we're thinking of. We're thinking that they're going to use sticks and stones and actually hit somebody, hurt somebody.
And actually break your bones.
Literally push them off a bridge.
Right.
So I can see that there's a lot of action here, but this is not the type of action the criminal law usually prosecutes.
So was he mentally ill? Was he on any type of antidepressant medication? Is that information out yet?
I'm not sure about that. He's obviously somebody who was fragile, and what the news reporting suggests is that she knew he was fragile.
Right, exactly.
So that's, again,
and I believe that. I mean, they were in a relationship. They were around each other on a consistent basis. You don't know what if he was paying for everything for her. You don't know exactly what I mean, emotional abuse, in my opinion, on both sexes, male and female, in a relationship is a very, very real thing. And again, I think that if this guy tells her that he loves her on a consistent basis, and she tells him, well, you should just kill yourself because you're not good for the world, 47,000 times in 3 months, I think that would apply. Would you not agree?
I don't completely agree, because I would hope that if my child were told, you love me, but I think you should just kill yourself, that my child would have the mental fortitude to say, go after yourself.
Right. You're not good. You're not good for me. You're not good for my life. And that's why I'm curious if he was on some type of medication and she was completely aware of that. Now, if you were on a medication and she was aware of that, would that change things because she'd be taking advantage of someone who is susceptible to this type of behavior potentially?
Well, like I said, there's those four elements. You got to do something, you got to have a degree of desiring the social harm, and you got to cause this actual social harm. So it seems to me that the more she knows how vulnerable he is, then we're talking about that mental state that she really seems to have wanted or at least been reckless about his killing himself. So in that sense, I think that makes a difference. But when it comes to causation, there's a huge problem here. We think about human beings as having agency, and we think that, everybody can make up their own minds. And, no matter how many times she tells them to kill himself, we don't expect somebody to kill themselves and say that it's the responsibility of the other person. That really is sort of uniquely a choice that somebody is making about themselves. And I'm hesitant to say she could make him kill himself.
So, yeah, Frank, this is my kind of outlook on this, and I look at it from I'm not a psychiatrist, okay? I'm not a lawyer. I'm not looking at it from a legal standpoint. I'm just an average guy, layperson. I say to myself, you know what? Chris. No matter what she said, as far as no matter how derogatory she was towards this individual, I can't make that connection of how do I get from A, B to C, and C being him killing himself because of somebody else's words. I don't make that. I don't understand how you make that connection of her verbal abuse to the action of him committing suicide as something that can be prosecuted. I guess, can you kind of understand the direction I'm going here? That I don't see that connection, how that can be easily made, and how that can transpire. And yes, I think that, you know, it is a absolute slippery slope if in this case you're going to consider that to be the actual the reasoning behind it. The reason that he killed himself is because of what this woman said. It can apply in a number of other, you know, situations that, you know, the person could get, you know, thrown in jail or get prosecuted for, in my opinion.
It's a big thing. The worst thing that we do to people is to convict them of a crime, and what makes it conviction of a crime different than, say, taking a bunch of money from them is that we're saying we as a community, right, the people of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts are saying we condemn you for this awful thing that you did. And before we use that, you know, sort of supreme power, I want to make sure that it's not going to start getting abused by prosecutors where they say, all right, there weren't 47,000 texts, but there were, you know, 400 texts. Well, what if there were 40 texts? What if there were 4 texts? Is that enough to force somebody to kill themselves? And so, you know, slippery slopes are the things that lawyers make their money off of.
Right.
Because on the one hand, you're going to say, maybe this woman is awful, but on the other hand, we don't want this applied to every time, you know, somebody gets in an argument with somebody and they say, oh, go kill yourself. That, you know, and somebody does, that here comes the prosecutor, here come the police getting ready to try and put this person in jail.
So
I tend to come down on your side.
What separates this particular case from the Michelle Carter case, where she was actually imprisoned? She's currently in jail for what she did to her boyfriend. In your opinion, was what she did more egregious than what this woman did? And what do you think the outcome should be?
Well, I think that the Boston College case is worse. So the Michelle Carter case, she was sort of nudging this guy. She knew he was depressed. And I'm not sure I agree that Michelle Carter should be in jail, but the Supreme Judicial Court of Massachusetts has approved that. And so I guess I would say I still don't think that this ought to be something you can convict somebody of. And I say that knowing that what she did was awful, and that as much as I'd like to think you can't make somebody do something, a lot of us can be pushed by the people we love. Pushed to our death? I hope not. So I guess I would say no, she shouldn't be convicted. But like you say, if Michelle Carter can be convicted, this is worse.
So what do you think?
She will get convicted.
If she doesn't get, say she's not convicted, say she gets away from this scot-free, you obviously, I don't think you would agree with that. What do you think is an appropriate recourse? Or repercussions, ramifications for her actions?
Well, let me just stop and say, I don't agree that something has to happen, right? It's a sort of on-off switch. When it comes to the criminal law, you're either convicted beyond a reasonable doubt or you're not. And so with this particular crime that they're charging her with, there's not really something lower in terms of homicide they can convict her of. This is the lowest level of homicide. So I guess she goes scot-free, quote-unquote, but she's not going scot-free in the sense that she's already been subject to sort of public criticism. You know, that's not going to make his family feel good, but sometimes the answer is not that we throw somebody in jail. Sometimes it's something else in between.
Frank Rudy Cooper is joining us live on the phone lines here, criminal law professor at UNLV, live on the Vegas Take. We've been discussing the charges filed against In Young Yu, a 21-year-old from South Korea, who's charged with involuntary manslaughter in the death of her 22-year-old boyfriend, Alexander Erla of New Jersey. Now, of course, we've been discussing, of course, the criminal prosecution possibilities regarding Miss Yu. Now, there's also the situation with extradition, right? And Frank and Rachel Rollins, the DA, the Suffolk District DA, is prepared to seek extradition of the former Boston College student. She is cautiously optimistic that she will return to face charges. Now, the U.S. and South Korea have an extradition treaty dating back to 1999. I want to get your thoughts on, the extradition. Is there a possibility of problems with that? And, of course, provisions that come into play here, Frank?
All right, well, there, unfortunately, I can't help you a lot because I don't want to go outside of my expertise when it comes to extradition. So I can't tell you exactly what the details are going to be with respect to extradition. If Rachel Rollins is, sort of cautiously optimistic about this, I'm just going to take her at her word that there's a good chance that could happen. I don't know enough to give a legal opinion on whether the extradition is likely.
Yeah, because, I mean, look, I'm just making a general observation here. I got to believe there could be some type of roadblocks given, this isn't an American citizen. This is someone, who is able to go back to her country. And we've seen, just in other cases in general, that can sometimes be an issue of trying to get people back to the United States to face charges that they may have pending.
Absolutely, and unfortunately, that's not one that the extradition issue is not one I can help you with. I think the discussion that we've had just points out that it's a really tough case. What she did was awful, but is it a crime? Hard to say.
Now, do you think that, okay, let's say it's not a crime, but do you think that someone who is in a relationship with someone else that sends them text messages to the tune of 47,000 in 3 months, which translates to what? What is that? It's
a lot.
It's almost it's almost 520 text messages every single day.
But it posed the question,
That's
and I pointed
20
this out,
text
JD,
messages
earlier
an
in the
hour.
week. And Frank, I want to get your thoughts. Like, look, doesn't if you're getting bombarded, right, with all this negative attention or negative responses by whether your spouse or your friend or whoever, doesn't it diminish it? Like, doesn't it as it goes on and on and on? Say you're getting hundreds, thousands of times they're saying, "Go kill yourself," or "Go hang yourself," or "Go do this," "Go do that." To me, it would in my opinion, it would take away every single time that happens. Am I off base on that? Do you think?
Well, the little bit that I know about domestic abuse is that, in fact, what happens is that somebody who is abusive can come to gain power over another person.
Right.
And to the extent that they get power over somebody, the more that they're sort of running this water over a rock. But it turns out that rock is not a rock. It's somebody who is susceptible to this. I think more texts like that are going to have an accumulating effect. So on that specific point, I guess I don't agree.
But to finish my thought, don't you think, and I think that someone who does that clearly is mentally ill themselves. Don't you think she should be put into a mental hospital? Don't you think she should be admitted into some type of mental institution for that type of behavior?
You're pushing me beyond my comfort zone. I don't know that I feel that we should involuntarily commit somebody to a mental hospital because of being mean. She should go to a mental hospital, but I don't know that the state should step in and say, we're going to convict you and put you in a mental hospital instead of jail, or we're going to involuntarily commit you.
And JD, I think it's a fair question, but yeah, I think Frank, you're 100% right. I think this is a question probably for like a mental health expert, right?
Well, yeah,
make an observation.
Well, if you're sending 47,000 text messages in 3 months, clearly you have a mental problem.
Well, I think it is safe to say yes. There probably is an issue
illness,
there,
especially if those text messages are in a clear effort to get someone to end their life, who you have a relationship with. To me, that person is beyond crazy.
Oh, yeah, and I was just going to say, my quote-unquote legal opinion is she's crazy.
Yeah, that's you can boil it all down, right? And we have a prediction, we have an expectation. So, Frank Rudy Cooper joining us live on the phone lines, criminal law professor at UNLV, discussing this very unique case, and it could be a watershed case. So, it could be something that could kind of shake things up from a legal standpoint in this country. So. Frank, we really appreciate you spending some time and sharing your expertise on this particular story, and we want you to have a great weekend, okay?
You too. Thanks for your time.
Thanks a lot, Frank.
Frank Rudy Cooper, a criminal law professor at UNLV, discussing this case. And look, we've been bouncing it back and forth, right, JD, for a few days now. And it is something that, look, everybody has an opinion, but it's, to me, it's tough because you're trying to assign blame on someone from verbal attacks. I have to admit, the first time I heard this story, I was thinking of Silence of the Lambs. Remember the movie with obviously with Hannibal Lecter?
Yeah,
with Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
When he basically just by berating and by manipulation ended up making that guy kill himself in the cell. Like it was, I think it was a couple cells over from him down in the prison, and that's the first thing I thought of when this story came about, because it just goes to show, you know, the type of power, and Frank mentioned it. A lot of it is about power, right? It's about one person having, you know, a mental acuity and power over another, but the question, of course, being, is that prosecuted? You know, is it something where you can, you know, you can put it out, you can make a determination that they should be prosecuted and they should be thrown in jail for wording and for verbal abuse. It's just a very tough question, and it doesn't have anything to do with how horrible the person is, because yes, this woman could be just an awful person and you know, should be ridiculed the rest of her life.
Clearly she is an awful person, unless we find out 3 to 6 months down the road that this guy committed some heinous crime against her, and there's some type of recourse that she has. But to me, it just sounds like she is just a terrible human being who has no business being in society. And again, she's not an unattractive woman, so she is fully capable of doing this again.
It's the Friday edition of the Vegas Take. Chris Wynn in for Brian Shapiro, along with J.D. Sharp. On the other side, we're going to talk to Mr. X, get a Hollywood perspective on what's going down in the world today. We'll be back after this.
Join Coach Harvey Hyde and Chuck Hayes Saturday evenings from 9 to 10 p.m. for Trojan Football Report, presented by South Point Hotel and Casino, here on 101.5 FM and 720 AM KDWN, where Las Vegas comes to talk.
Warning: this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Welcome to Velo, the modern take on nicotine. They're hassle-free nicotine pouches that are leaving the chargers, smoke, and mess in the rear view. So whether you're in the zone at the office, with your crew at the bar, or kicking back at 38,000 feet, Velo's ready. Go to Velo.com to find your retailer. Velo, no limits. Website restricted to age 21 plus tobacco consumers. Underage sale prohibited.
This is Harry Jacobs from Credit Restoration of Nevada, inviting you to join me for the Credit Show, Saturday mornings between 9 and 10, here on the new 101.5 FM and 720 AM. Hey,
it's Brian Shapiro from the Vegas Take Care, and now it's time for Infinity's Fun Fact of the Day.
A googol is 1 and 100 zeros. This number was defined by American mathematician Edward Kasner in the 1930s. His 9-year-old son made up the word, which led to the name Google. So the most influential company in the world today got its name from a 9-year-old in the 1930s.
Don't forget to visit themathinstitute.com for more information on how to make your child the most successful student they can be.
Listen to the Texas Corners Bible Church every Saturday night at 11 p.m. and Sunday night at 10 p.m. on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
V is for victory, except on Saturdays when V is for veterans. That's Veterans Talk, The Forgotten Promise. Join us every Saturday from noon to 1.
Veterans Talk every Saturday at noon on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.
Rich is just a really, really, really good guy. The term good egg isn't enough to describe him. He's also certified organic and free range. Rich puts the cap back on everything. The toothpaste, the olive oil, the shampoo, everything. He lets his 10-year-old nephew beat him at virtual tennis, even though he can straight up slay his 10-year-old nephew in virtual tennis. When the toilet paper is running low, Rich replaces the roll on the actual holder, not just on the back of the toilet. Rich is texting and driving. Rich, no. What are you doing, Rich? I was just telling everyone how great you are. Texting and driving makes good people look bad. Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Las Vegas's only FM news talk station is right here. The new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
Wall Street likes the latest jobs report as we hear from correspondent Steve Kastenbaum.
Stock prices climbed into positive territory this morning with the Dow Jones Industrial Average up more than 250 points. The monthly jobs report, which said that 128,000 jobs were added in October despite the GM strike, boosted confidence on Wall Street. However, the Institute for Supply Management said manufacturing contracted for the third month in a row.
Russia says time has run out for Moscow and Washington to negotiate a new START nuclear arms control treaty before the current one expires in 2021. The Washington Nationals have accepted an invitation to visit the president at the White House Monday to celebrate the franchise's first World Series championship. Expect earlier holiday deals this year. A late Thanksgiving means the shortest shopping season in years, and retailers are responding with sales even earlier this year. The Dow up about 250. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads in the KDON Traffic Center.
Traffic sponsored by In-N-Out Burger, and a couple wrecks remain on the 215 Western Beltway, one for each side. First one northbound Flamingo off-ramp, it's all in the Gore area. The second one is southbound at Town Center, hanging off to the left shoulder, and a problem on the southbound 95 Charleston off-ramp. Good news here is that crash is off right. One more injury wreck, Cheyenne eastbound at Civic Center. In-N-Out Burger Fresh Fact, In-N-Out hamburger patties use no preservatives, additives, or fillers. Just the highest quality beef you can find, because fresh is what it's all about. I'm Bradley J. in the KDON Traffic Center.
Psst, Bob, quick, the neighbors. There they go again. Jeez, it's like clockwork. Every weekend, he grabs his clubs, she grabs a duffel, and they're gone for the night. And when they come back, they look so relaxed and happy. Where do you think they go?
Well, they're not rich, so it must be affordable. Maybe some kind of marriage retreat?
Oh, right, with golf clubs. And she looks so refreshed.
We could use some of whatever it is. Go ask them when they get back.
Well, they're back, and you won't believe it.
Surprise me.
They've been going to Casablanca Resort in Mesquite on that $99 room and golf getaway. Sometimes they go for the $99 room and spa getaway. They love it.
Hey, we could afford $99, and it's only a little more than an hour's drive. Let's treat ourselves.
Book your $99 room and golf or spa getaway today at mesquitegaming.com or call 877-GETAWAY. Casablanca Resort in Mesquite, just like Vegas used to be. Must be 21 years or older.
You're in charge of hiring, and Indeed has solutions, like online skills tests, which let a candidate show that they're the right hire. We'll also have a dolphin chatter excitedly in front of the perfect candidate. Okay, there's no dolphin. But skills tests, that's a for sure.
See why independent research by Silk Road shows Indeed delivers 3 times more hires than any other job site. Visit Indeed.com/promo today and get a free sponsored job upgrade on your first posting. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply.
Hi, it's Matt Ray with America's First News, heard right here on 101.5 FM and 720 AM KDON. Start your day in the know. From Washington to Wall Street and covering the world, we've got you covered with the latest news, commentary, and analysis. Everything but the cup of coffee. America's First News, weekday mornings, 2 to 6 a.m. right here on 101.5 FM and 720 AM KDON, the talk of Las Vegas.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDON.
Every time they open their mouths, they make no sense. Something going on in there?
Rolling through on a Friday, it's the Vegas Take, coming to you live from our beautiful studios here on the west side of Las Vegas. Chris Wynn in for Brian Shapiro, along with J.D. Sharp. You can find us on YouTube, streaming live right now, so you can see our faces for radio. Johnny handling his business behind the scenes as well, too. 702-257-5396 is the phone number. We were discussing a number of topics, of course, the controversial and, could be, watershed moment when it came to, the previous topic as far as, a man committing suicide and charges being brought against his girlfriend. But now we're going to kind of switch gears here a little bit, and we're going to head out to the left coast to Southern California. And we're going to talk a little bit with Mr. X, who, JD, look, it's a tough deal, right? Being a conservative in L.A., where you are being bombarded with whether it's comments, whether it's perspective, whether it's ideology that is nowhere near the conservative side of things for the most part. Now, there are a few, right? There's the James Woods. There's others who would take that.
You've got John.
Would be on the right.
Right, John Voight.
John Voight is one, too,
very,
as well,
very
too?
James.
Oh,
But
yeah.
no, yeah. Mr. X is, and it's not that he's extremist right or he's over the top right. He just doesn't think Donald Trump is a racist pig.
Right,
And so and therefore he is extremely right.
And he's someone who would have been supportive of Republican presidents in the past, right? People like Ronald Reagan, people like the Bushes, Republican presidents. who are
he doesn't-
considered quote unquote normal.
He doesn't believe
Because
it.
I just don't look. I don't think Donald Trump is in that realm. He's just not the. He's not the typical normal Republican president. Call me crazy. Call me. He's out of the box, JD. He's not. He's not someone who's conventional. Who's going to go.
Let's be honest,
handle things in the way that other Republicans have.
Up until 5 to 10 years ago, he wasn't even a Republican.
Right.
He was a Democrat. So he's changed his tune, which he's totally entitled to do. But Mr. X doesn't think that his entire purpose is to ruin the world and basically end the world through nuclear war. And in the eyes of Hollywood, that is an issue. So
Yes.
that is why he does not use his real name, and he comes on as an alias.
And he joins us now here on the Vegas Take on the phone lines from Southern California, Mr. X, the conservative out of Hollywood. It's great to have you on. How's your Friday going, Mr. X?
Hello, gentlemen. My Friday is going well. No news here. No thirsty actresses that I've had to deal with this week. So
That's exciting.
Things are going okay so far.
Any festivities from last night, of course, with Halloween going down there in L.A.? What anything to share as far as fun stories?
The amount of slutty outfits that you see on women here, it actually decreases on Halloween because you can just drive through West Hollywood or Hollywood and see it every day anyway. So women generally, it was a little cold last night, so there were a lot of like Daenerys Targaryens out there and stuff like that.
Right.
They're actually not very revealing. I was a little bit upset, to be honest.
Speaking of Daenerys Targaryen, David Benioff and his partner showrunner were just kicked off. Apparently, apparently they exited the Star Wars trilogy or the Star Wars project, and then it came out that they were kicked off the Star Wars project because of how poorly the Game of Thrones finale actually was. What really happened here? What are your thoughts on this, and how do they land a $200 million deal with Netflix out of it?
Here are my thoughts. I don't know who I hate more, the writers who ruined Game of Thrones or Disney. I mean, there is no company worse for Hollywood and this planet than Disney. I just am so tired of these guys milking every possible franchise for every possible dollar that it's worth. Like, just stop. I don't want to see any more Star Wars. I don't want to see any more Marvel. Just enough. Come up with an original idea. It's not that hard. And the Game of Thrones guys, I mean, that was clearly a case of they were just done. They just had enough, and they just said, let's just wrap this up. We don't care how it happens. They just destroyed it. It's true.
Yeah, it is pretty true. The end of Game of Thrones ended up being, now we're going to start an oligarchy. That was basically the entire premise of the show was to start an oligarchy.
It was an abomination.
And I gotta say, hoping for not being saturated by Star Wars stuff is going to be tough sledding. Considering, look, I'm not even a Star Wars guy, but you had the trailer come out last week, and now it's just going to start ramping up all the Star Wars stuff.
I thought that was okay.
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe that they're having another 3 movies and this stupid show about Boba Fett. It's just enough, guys. I don't care about this. At some point, people, please stop spending money on this and just go watch some original movies and shows.
So, JD, I think it's established Mr. X not a big Star Wars guy.
No,
okay?
and honestly,
I love the original 3 Star Wars.
Oh yeah,
okay. It's just like, stop milking it.
He's not a guy. But I mean, George Lucas's net worth is $7 billion for a reason. He's making money hand over fist off this. But you're right, it's kind of gotten played on. I would say the first 2 in the early 2000s were okay. But I mean, did you see the one with Donald Glover?
Yeah, it was bad. Was that the Han Solo one?
Yes, it was.
Oh God, I couldn't sit through it. That one was terrible.
Yeah, I tried to watch half an hour and I had to stop.
No. And you said George Lucas has $7 billion, and this is not going to sound very conservative of me, but could he just be satisfied with $2 billion and not raping our childhood? Is that okay?
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay, fine. You're only worth $2 to $3 billion now, and my childhood remains intact, and I don't need to see Jar Jar Binks. Come on, guys.
So, Mr. X, we had Halloween last night, of course, and I'm sure you didn't see a lot of costumes of Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi around town last night. Of course, last Saturday, he was the terrorist leader who was killed by U.S. Special Forces. And, of course, you would expect, around the country, this is something that we would celebrate, something we'd be happy about because, a terrorist leader has been taken out, and that's going to...
The austere religious scholar?
Exactly, right? Yeah. But it's something that you would think that would be a positive, something that would, end up being something that would bring the country together. Well, that hasn't necessarily been the case, and of course you're right there in the belly of the beast when it comes to liberals and a ton of Democrats. And I just wanted to get your perspective on how that all went down and what the reaction was down in Hollywood as far as his killing and the amount of basically credit, right, that President Trump got
or didn't get
for how that went down.
Let's put it this way: among the liberal community, the dog got a lot more credit than Trump, and maybe rightfully so. He's something. The left and the right, we all love dogs.
We do. We do.
The whole Washington Post thing with the austere religious scholar, yes, they did it. Yes, they took it down immediately. Yes, they're catching a lot of heat for it. But to me, that's such a telling insight into idiotic liberals in America. I remember, at the time when Trump was first elected, and they were talking a lot about harboring terrorists in the U.S., and he was very concerned about Muslims. And I had a lot of liberal friends who were posting on social media being like, if you're a Muslim from Iraq or Iran, and you want to come here illegally, you can stay at my apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what is wrong with you people? Stop! You're so uneducated and idiotic. This situation is not I get you're sitting in Hollywood and just blogging and doing your thing, but that's not reality. Go to Iran and see how it really is there, and go to Israel. This is not. It's just frustrating, and that's the thing about the Washington Post article that was really crazy is that people really feel that way. That wasn't some Muslim terrorist that wrote that. That was some spectacles wearing kale juice drinking idiot that works at the Washington Post that thought that this guy probably shouldn't have died.
And the worst part of the thing is he's probably a Yale graduate or an MIT graduate or a Stanford graduate. But no, honestly, that has not gotten enough traction. How do you refer to a clear terrorist as an austere religious scholar just to downplay what Trump did? I mean, and you're right. It does show you the lengths that particular parts of mainstream media will go to make the president look bad. And to me, it was one of the worst things I've seen in a long time. And Brian earlier this week asked me a question. He said, do you find it worse that, or I mean, he was talking about how Trump downplayed Obama's killing or Obama being involved in the killing of Osama bin Laden when he said, al-Baghdadi was a bigger deal than Obama. And obviously Trump's going to do that because that's just who Trump is. But I think it's much worse, and I would feel much worse if I was a member or if I had a family member who died in 9/11, and I heard the Washington Post or I saw the Washington Post refer to this clear-cut, open terrorist as an austere religious scholar just to make the president of the United States look bad and to discredit what happened. And let's be honest, it was a good thing for the United States and the world when al-Baghdadi died.
And look, I'll acknowledge, as someone who's a never Trumper, I thought that the use of that wording was wrong. I don't think that should have been that. They should have absolutely said it. But that being said, look, and the tweets, by the way, have come fast and furious, right, Mr. X, across the entertainment community on both sides, really. I mean, you have Chuck Woolery going out saying, look, it's breathtaking. Bernie Sanders acknowledges Kurds and other U.S. allies after al-Baghdadi raid, not U.S. forces or Trump. And then you go to the other side, go to someone like Rob Reiner, who says, your terrorists, my terrorist was bigger than your terrorist. I mean, it's pretty much, a polar opposites of each other across the board. And there are just a number of other tweets out there from both sides that are pretty much along the same lines.
It is, and it's crazy. And to me, it comes back to the media, man. If everyone in this country was happy and nice to each other and agreed on politics, there would be so many, reporters and news networks that would have, they'd be out of work.
They would have nothing to talk about.
No, they wouldn't. And Trump could literally cure cancer tomorrow, and people would be like, Trump in a devastating blow to the medical industry.
Or they would say that he bragged about it. He was too arrogant in curing cancer, despite the fact that he saved 75 million lives in the process.
It's crazy. It's that's just how the media is, though. I'm literally looking at Google News as we speak, and it's it's one thing. It's Trump going to be impeached presently, and then the opposing like what's all this Trump impeachment nonsense? Like it's just the media are so ridiculous.
What if I told you?
Look, I'd push back on the media stuff though, because look, there's certain parts of the media, right, where there's people who are actual journalists. And then there are pundits, right? There are talking heads. There are people that have an agenda. There are shows that, like, you can see it on every network, whether it's Fox, whether it's CNN, whether it's MSNBC. People have their shows. They have their point of view, whether it's Chris Matthews, who hates Trump, right? Or whether it's Laura Ingraham, who is all in on Donald Trump. Or whether...
I don't know, man.
But I'm telling you, Mr. X, I'm telling you, and the people, by the way, people like Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo and some of these other people, they have the reason they have an axe to grind. And I would argue, by the way, that you don't necessarily see it on their shows, is because the president of the United States has personally gone after them, has personally attacked them. So that's why there's an animosity there.
The egg, though, dude. Trump doesn't just like randomly reach out and start harassing media members. These guys absolutely destroy him, and then he defends himself. Like Trump has better things to do than just suddenly randomly go off. He's doing it when they're like literally calling for him to be assassinated. And the thing is, like, yeah, you can say there's probably some media members that have more integrity than others, but
there's a lot that are journalists.
Yeah. No, there's. But the problem is that the company they work for gives them an agenda,
and they get paid for it.
They have to toe the company line. Like, I'm sure that there's plenty of Fox News reporters that are good people and intelligent and rational, but they have to fanatically defend Trump, like CNN has to do the opposite.
And the deal is the last 10 presidents that have been maliciously attacked by the media, they haven't responded to the media, and so the media doesn't know how to deal with it. They've never dealt with a president who actually fires back at them. They think that they've had a free pass to say what they want. Now, let me tell you this, Mr. X. If you go to Google and you type in Donald Trump, the first 21 pages of articles that you see are going to be one not from conservative outlets or have a positive Donald Trump or have anything positive towards Donald Trump. And to me, that's crazy. That is crazy.
And that's the problem. And and I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not sitting in my bunker with a tin hat on, but like you have to follow the money. And I feel like there's obviously some ulterior motive, and whether it is just sort of sowing the seeds of dissension and that's it, fine. But there's clearly the media entrench themselves in some way, and in this case, fully, like, I've never seen the media so violently opposed to a president. I mean, I remember W's 2 tenures, and, like, yeah, they grumbled, and the entertainment industry didn't love them, but, like, never like this. This is insane. It's just, like, 24/7 anti-Trump nonsense, and it's, like, it just gets old, and it accomplishes nothing. It doesn't change anybody's mind.
And the craziest part about it, that no one is ever talking about, is if Donald Trump, say the media gets what they want, and Donald Trump is no longer president, how much do their ratings drop when they have nothing else to talk about? So I mean, basically,
what's Saturday Night Live going to do?
Yeah, what are they wishing? No, I'm serious.
This show's been around for a while, so they're obviously going to transition to topics. But
what is their end game? Is their end game? They're doing this so they can lose 50% of their revenue. Is that their goal? Because that's what's going to happen.
Honestly, I think that they probably have looked at the Democrats that are potentially going to run against Trump and realize there's no hope anyway, so they can just freely bash him and nothing's going to happen. I don't think Trump's going to be impeached. I think if Elizabeth Warren runs against him, it's going to be a disaster and a landslide. And
it'll be a joke.
We'll see.
But I mean, if Joe Biden's president, or Elizabeth Warren, or Bernie Sanders, or Tulsi Gabbard, people just aren't going to care about politics as much as they care about politics with Donald Trump. And people caring about politics means people paying attention to politics, and the outlets that discuss politics, like these news networks, whether it's through social media or actual TV or radio, and that translates to advertising dollars because of viewership and ratings. And those are going to go down the drain if Donald Trump is not the president moving forward. And that's what they're trying to push for, despite the fact that it's going to literally kill their business. They're trying they're begging to get themselves shot in the foot, and to me, that's unbelievable.
Mr. X joining us here live on the Vegas Take. Chris went in for Brian Shapiro along with J.D. Sharp here live in studio. Of course, Mr. X works in the entertainment industry, the left-heavy entertainment industry as a conservative. So,
I might retire now since I just bet $20 million on the Astros to lose the World Series.
Oh, you're right there. You're hanging out with Mattress Mac. You're doing that thing, man.
I wish I had, man. That was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life.
So Mr. X, JD brought up the
we talked to him yesterday on the show, Mr. X.
No way.
Yes,
oh, great.
yes.
How's he
did.
doing? I think he made more money on that deal than lost. But
I agree.
Obviously. Yeah,
So
the
you and
media
JD, Mr. X, you guys brought up, of course, the Democratic candidates for the 2020 election. It's going to be a wild year here coming up. And now, look, you think a lot of the liberal left in Hollywood, they'd be all in, whether it's Joe Biden, right, or whether it's Elizabeth Warren or some of these front runners. But the case is is that apparently Kamala Harris is a huge favorite among a lot of the people down there in the entertainment industry. What do you make of that, Mr. X? Is that someone who's basically polling in single digits, right? Who, look, I think Kamala Harris as an individual is very impressive. Her resume is impressive. She's someone I think who would be very capable as president of the United States. And many people think, look, if she's doesn't win the presidency, which is a very high likelihood, right, she's going to end up being a senator in California. But what do you make of, the enamoration for Kamala Harris down in that community?
Here's the problem, is that I've got, obviously, dozens and dozens of absurdly liberal friends. And I have to choke back my bile when I'm talking to them about politics. But here's the issue, is that every week they're telling me about the next Democratic candidate. Like, I'm not kidding you. Literally yesterday, they were telling me that Sanders is the guy and that everybody's endorsing him and that he's the guy and he's going to do it. And here comes Bernie, and now you're saying Kamala Harris. Like, are they all just going to run? Is it just going to be like 5 of them
Yeah, they
together?
have to weed it out at some point.
No, they can't. And that's the problem, is that they're so divided that I'm afraid it's going to prevent them from, if they were all rallying behind, and like this is the craziest thing, and this is exactly what happened when he ran against Hillary. I think that any decent Democratic candidate probably would have beaten Trump. For basically a meme like Trump to be elected president in this country, he has to literally run against the Antichrist, and that's what happened. And that's the only way that there was even I remember what the Vegas odds were on Trump getting elected president when he first kind of entered the race, and I was in Vegas and I saw Dennis Miller, with talking live at one point, and they dismissed him like it was a joke.
Yeah.
We're just talking about the real candidate. And so, it's the same situation now. I think that with how much animosity there is toward Trump, the Democratic Party would probably have a pretty decent chance of knocking him out. But not. They need to have a really strong candidate that all the idiot celebrities and all of the disgusting.
Are you doing laundry?
What's that?
Are you doing laundry?
Exactly.
I thought I heard the dryer going in the background there. It's pretty cool.
No, that was my dog tapping her feet on the floor.
Okay, fair.
The house trying to get a treat.
Are you going to give her a medal after this?
She doesn't deserve one. She's stinks. So I'm going to give her a bath after this one. But yeah, no. But the point is, I think that the Democrats really would have a solid chance, but it's starting to almost get too late, and it shows just politics is really not all that much about actually fixing the issues of the country. It's about personal gain, and if these, one or two of these Democratic candidates started really endorsing each other and rallying behind someone, they would have a chance, but they're all just a joke. They're all just other sides of the same coin.
I got to admit, though, I still think Joe Biden is the guy that's going to end up being because I'm telling you, the mentality is not just about entertainment, the entertainment industry here. It's around the country. There are a lot of people, particularly on the left and Democrats, who have this mentality of, you know what, we need to right the ship. And we need to somehow get the country back to some type of normalcy. Because, look, you have to admit, even as someone who voted for Donald Trump or supports Donald Trump, it's been just crazy, hasn't it, for the last 3 years? It's just been bonkers back and forth. And even if you are a supporter or you're someone like me who doesn't support Donald Trump, it has been mentally exhausting. Not just covering this guy, but just all the just from every story to every situation to every dramatic thing that goes down. And I think there's a significant portion of the American public that just want to say, hey, can we just get back to some type of normalcy or some type of,
Absolutely.
where politics is not front and center, I guess, is what I'm saying.
I agree with you, and I'll be honest. I think that going into this, I definitely felt that Joe Biden had the best shot because he's really just a less obnoxious Trump, let's be honest. They're the same guy. The policy, he's slightly more left. And, but he's popular just because of his relation, to Obama. But, like, I think that he, with all the nonsense that has happened with him with Ukraine and all this stuff recently, like, he definitely seems like not the strongest candidate. I do feel, again, though, like if all of the Democrats had rallied around Joe Biden initially, but I tell you, man, I talk to my liberal friends, they hate Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean that they're going to vote for Trump over him, because they're not. I mean, let's be real. If it's Biden and Trump, every liberal is voting for Biden, and they're going to be grumbling about it the way they did about Hillary. But, that's not going to be the case going into it. Like, I definitely think that there's going to be a lot of support for Kamala Harris, a lot of support for Bernie Sanders, and Buttigieg, Warren. They're all in it to this extent. It's just super divided. I do think, though, that they hate Trump enough that whoever emerges from on that side, and I use that word literally,
yes,
they're going to rally behind them to an extent.
Mr. X joining us here live on the Vegas Take with his perspective as someone who works in the entertainment community as a conservative in a very heavy left industry. Mr. X, we do appreciate the time and your thoughts and your input, sir. We hope you have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again soon, okay?
All right, guys. Have a good one.
There you go.
Thanks a lot, Mr. X.
Mr. X joining us, talking all things politics and the perspective of someone who was, in the belly of the beast down there in Southern California in the entertainment industry. It's the Vegas Take coming your way on a Friday, 2 hours down, 1 to go. Joining us next, he is the host of Sports X Radio right here on KDWN. We're going to get into some college football, maybe some NFL, and talk about all the goings-on this weekend with Ken Thompson here on the Vegas Take. I'm Chris Wynn in for Brian Shapiro along with J.D. Sharp. We'll be back right after this.
Are you or a loved one struggling to hear despite using hearing aids? It might be time to ask a doctor about cochlear implants.
My cochlear implant gave me access to the sounds that I've been missing. I'm back to being me, and I'm unstoppable.
Cochlear implants are routinely covered by Medicare and most private insurance plans for those who meet the health plan criteria. Ready to be unstoppable? Call 833-700-HERE to learn more and find a doctor near you. Again, that's 833-700-HEAR.
Sponsored by Cochlear.
Hey, my friend's company spent 3 days cleaning up an email phishing attack that targeted several dozen employees.
Yeah, if just one malicious email slips through, an attack can spread quickly and do serious damage.
What if that happens to us?
Don't worry, we have Barracuda Forensics and Incident Response.
So we're good?
Yes. With fast automated response and remediation, all traces of the attack can be removed in less than 5 minutes.
Wow, that's a relief.
Protect your business at Barracuda.com. Barracuda, your journey secured.
Hey guys, hear what the kids are saying about Infinity, the Math Institute.
Going to Infinity is a lot different than school because the faculty and staff in Infinity are a lot more one-to-one on you. They don't just care about getting the work done. They're about trying to change your life.
So before I went to Infinity, I had an F. I now have a B+, so it really helped me a lot with math. I like going to school now because it's easier for me. It's like not a struggle.
Infinity is a place where you learn new techniques, not only for math, but for life as well. It's also a great place to meet new people and make a lot of different friends who share the same qualities as you, and you just get a whole new experience.
It's different because if they have questions or problems, you can talk to someone if you need that help.
Call Infinity, the Math Institute at 702-768-1777. That's 768-1777. Infinity, the Math Institute. Don't get more math problems, get solutions.
We want to take a moment to thank you, our community, for always supporting our efforts at the Shade Tree Shelter. The Shade Tree offers safe shelter for homeless and abused women and children. We help about 15 families a day, 6,500 families per year, and we can't do that without you. If you want to get involved and volunteer at the Shade Tree, please email us at volunteer@theshadetree.org. And if you want more information, check out our website at theshadetree.org. Thanks again to our wonderful Las Vegas community.
The only FM news talk station in the Valley. 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
7-year-old critical. Warren explains how. I'm Mike Moss. A 7-year-old Chicago girl clings to life today after she was shot last night while trick-or-treating. Chicago Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson says the girl was hit in the neck by a bullet fired while a gang of men were chasing another man.
I know there are people out there that have details on who these individuals are and where they might be located. I'm asking anyone who knows anything to stand up and do the right thing. Come forward so we can hold these offenders accountable.
Also in the San Francisco area, 4 people were killed and at least 3 others wounded when shots rang out during a Halloween party there. Elizabeth Warren has been under building pressure to explain how she'll pay for her proposed Medicare for All plan.
It's all fully paid for by asking the top 1% and giant corporations to pay a fair share.
Wall Street and states would also pay more to pay for Warren's $20 trillion plan. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she expects public hearings to begin this month in the impeachment inquiry into President Trump. Correspondent Linda Kenyon with more.
Just one day after the House voted to move to the public phase of the impeachment process, Speaker Pelosi tells Bloomberg, in her words, "I would assume there would be a public hearing in November." She added she didn't know what the timetable would be for the probe overall, but she insisted no decisions have been made about whether the president will in fact be impeached.
China says it's reached a tentative Phase 1 trade deal with the U.S., but the U.S. says only that progress is being made. The World Trade Organization says China can impose sanctions on up to $3.6 billion worth of American goods after the U.S. government failed to abide by the trade group's anti-dumping rules with regard to Chinese products. On Wall Street, the Dow up 263. I'm Mike Morse.
It's time to check the roads in the KDON Traffic Center.
Traffic sponsored by Dr. Patient Unity. Still clearing out a wreck on the 215 Western Beltway northbound Flamingo Off Ramp. It's all in the Gore area and cleanups underway. Cheyenne east of Rampart, that's an injury crash. Have another wreck involving injuries on Tropicana east of Las Vegas Boulevard. The I-15 and the 95 moving along nicely, getting through the Spaghetti Bowl, not an issue. As surprise medical bills bankrupt Americans, Jackie Rosen demands insurance companies pay their fair share. Opposing their rate-setting proposal to cover less medical care. Thank you, Jackie Rosen, and paid for by Dr. Patient Unity. I'm Bradley J. in the KDON Traffic Center.
For more than a year, the whole of Vermont was captivated by the hunt for a runaway golden retriever. Read Catching Murphy, the latest book from the Associated Press. Available now exclusively at Amazon.com.
Are you drinking too much? Is that glass or two of wine turning into a bottle? You know it's taking a toll on your liver and overall health. It's probably already affecting your relationships and work performance. You have thought about quitting, but don't want to attend those local meetings, and you know rehab is not for you.
I'm not an alcoholic. I just want to drink less.
Well, now there's a new way to get help cutting back on drinking without having to quit. Just get your life back. Life Back. That's Life BAC is an online doctor-supervised prescription program with medication that totally removes or significantly reduces cravings in 92% of people. The program is discreet, easy to follow, and costs less per month than a glass of wine every night. Plus, it comes with a free doctor consultation and 30-day money-back guarantee. Go to lifebac.com and join our program or download the app today. lifebac.com. Drink less, live better. lifebac.com.
Are you interested in owning rental properties right here in the Las Vegas area? Auction.com, the nation's leading real estate auctioneer, must sell 102 rental properties in the Las Vegas and Henderson markets. These are turnkey, income-producing single-family homes and condos with tenants and leases in place. That's right, the tenants are in place and currently paying rent on over 100 homes to be auctioned individually at auction.com/radio. Financing is available and a broker co-op is being offered for this one-time unprecedented online auction to be held November 11 through 13. Add more rentals to your portfolio, diversify your investments to add real estate, or buy your very first real estate investment. This is an auction that can't be missed. View all homes and auction details at auction.com/radio. That's www.auction.com/radio. Auction Participation is subject to a reserve.
SportsX Radio Nation, what's up? It's Ken Thompson, host of SportsX Radio, reminding you to catch me at my new time, 8 to 10 p.m. for all the local Vegas sports coverage, plus the national scene as well. That's SportsX Radio on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.
Tina Trenner is back, and she's on 720 AM, 101.5 FM, KDWN, every Sunday at 12:30 p.m. She's sick of the nonsense and has something to say every Sunday at 12:30 p.m.
Amid Las Vegas's glitz and glamour lurks the tragedy of homeless veterans, our nation's heroes who return from war but continue to fight a battle for survival on our city's gritty streets. The basic human need of shelter shouldn't be a luxury to military heroes, which is why there is Veterans Village. Veterans Village is a nonprofit organization providing transitional housing, meals, and social services to homeless vets to give them a hand up. Veterans Village is a place of hope, but we can't do it without you. Be a hero to heroes and donate any amount you can afford at vvlv.org. That's vvlv.org. vvlv.org.
Las Vegas's only FM news talk station is right here. The new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON. Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Vegas Take coming your way live here from the beautiful Valley. It is Chris Wynn in for Brian Shapiro along with J.D. Sharp, getting you set for your weekend. So much going down, J.D., from a sports perspective. As we got fight weekend coming up. We got a nice, big fight between Kovalev and Canelo. You've got, a nice UFC 244 going down with Nate Diaz featured there. Of course, all the NFL, college football, and also NHL and NBA action going down as well, too. The NBA kind of getting into, full swing for the regular season here. So interesting storylines across the board, right, JD?
Absolutely, Chris. There's a ton of sports. Hockey,
yep.
Basketball, football, UFC, boxing. There's a bit of everything except baseball this weekend.
Yeah, and maybe no better person to join us here on the Vegas Take, getting you set for your weekend, than our next guest. He is the fine host of SportsX Radio every day here on KDWN from 8 to 10 p.m. He's out live at Legacy Stadium for 4 days a week, and then on Wednesdays he's bouncing around from Steiner's Pub, where he's doing his great show from there as well, too. Ken Thompson joining us now on the phone lines. Ken, we appreciate the time. How are you doing, my friend?
See, win, baby. Just in the midst of getting ready for the Friday football fiasco, where Sharp actually makes an appearance and puts in his 2 cents with me and Brad Powers on all the college and NFL games. So only about 6 more hours of prep, going over the weather, finishing up on all these injuries that are coming into play as far as, starters for all the teams as well.
Oh, I got to admit, it's a top-notch threesome right there. You three guys, you're breaking, and you don't just break. Look, you don't just hit on maybe 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 games. You guys are breaking down every D1 game that matters going into the weekend. It's good stuff.
And NFL.
Yeah, it is. It's great with JD, man, because he knows there's certain games. There's probably about 20 games that he's into. The other ones, I'll take the over, KT.
Exactly.
It's just great, man. It's just awesome, man. It's just he's the third wheel, but it's a great wheel, man. It's a great tricycle to be on. And Brad Powers, of course, several years with over there at Phil Steele, and basically Phil Steele's right-hand man. But Brad's top of the line, man. And so with JD coming in and infusing his opinions, which are great because a lot of times they differ with mine or Brad's. I do know that the guys do owe me, they both owe me major dinner they're buying tonight because I had UCLA, they had Arizona State.
But of course.
I had UCLA with you as well, KT.
What's that?
I had UCLA with you as well, KT.
Oh, was it? Okay, so there's a game that you guys both won against me. I got them all written down, so I went back and listened to the archives, Shady. But you did pretty well, man. You held your own.
Yeah, I had a good week.
We actually got the best of BP last week.
And, Brad Powers is extremely talented at what he does. And let's just call what me, you, and Brad have, let's just call it what it is. It's a sports handicapping throuple. That's what it is, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, too. And, and that's the thing. There was a gentleman that came in from Los Angeles last night, and him and his girlfriend, they were outside the studio there as we were finishing up, me and Andy Isco. And I just thought they were looking in at Legacy Stadium, and I went out, and guy said, hey, look, I've been listening to you for 8-9 years. He goes, I live in L.A. He goes, I just wanted to meet you. So he got a picture there, and he goes, and you're Andy Isco, right? He goes, you're a Thursday, and he's like, and the guy was so ecstatic, but he told me, he goes, I really appreciate the way that you hit the small conferences, because everybody hits the top 25. Everybody hits the Power 5, conferences. He goes, but not a lot of people talk about Hawaii, which is where he was from, or San Jose State, who, I was talking about with Coach Brennan getting that team to 4-4 this year, which is like nobody thought the team's going to win more than 2 games. So I like to, pay attention, to those things. And then, hey, guys, he talked about all these sports coming up. Let's remember UNLV and IP4 Wayne coming up on Tuesday. Only about 100 college basketball games to kick it off on Tuesday night.
Yeah, there's a couple other big-time matchups right on Tuesday going down between some powers that are expected to be in contention for a national championship, right, KT?
Yeah, Kansas and Duke, and then we got Kentucky and Michigan State.
Oh, I've heard of them before. Yeah, I know about those guys.
I think I know who they are. So KT, give me your sleeper team this year to win the college basketball national championship, and give me the team you think actually wins.
Oh boy, you know what? There's a lot of teams right now that are going to have an opportunity. I think you're starting to see parity more and more. I mean,
I agree.
You're always going to get those top, those teams we just talked about, those blue blood teams. But that's the whole thing. JD, right now, I'm going through my blue ribbon. I'm going through. It's so tough to get all this work in when you're just dead set in the middle, or well, not the middle, 3/4 of the way into this college football season and the NFL. Actually been doing better in the NFL, although college was a really good week last week. I went 6-1 on my contest plays, and then I actually made some really good money on Michigan, which was my biggest play of the year so far. And I thought they would throttle Notre Dame. I never thought they'd beat them like they did, but very impressive.
That wasn't even close.
Yeah, and then I did come, and here's the thing, because the look-ahead line is about 13.5 with Michigan catching that many against Ohio State. And initially, as we've seen how that line is taken off, I think Michigan's defense is playing that well that they will definitely give Ohio State a game as long as they don't slip up against any of these teams like Maryland and even the Michigan State game, because Sparty is down. And Chris, you're a big green and white fan. Yep. This is one of the worst offenses that I've ever seen Michigan State have. I thought Lewerke was going to improve. It's not that his numbers, ratio-wise aren't better than last year, but my God, man, that team, their offense is like watching paint dry. It really is sad.
And then the blow, of course, this week where, the top linebacker on the team, on defense that's solid, right? The defense that's kind of been the only saving grace on that team. And now, of course, he's out with apparently performance-enhancing drug issues. So it's not been a banner year, to say the least, for the guys from East Lansing.
Yeah, Joe Bocci, man, not only the leading tackler this year, the leading tackler the last 2 years with 104 tackles last year, 100 the year before as a sophomore. That's a major blow, because you do have Willekes, one of the better defensive linemen in the country, on that defensive line, and then Bocci, the middle linebacker, the signal caller. Man, it doesn't get any worse for Sparty, man. That's why you guys are so happy you're preseason #1 in college hoops. You can't wait for Tuesday.
Exactly, right? Can we turn the page, please, on college football this year for the folks who are Sparty faithful? It's been real tough.
Man, watching this Michigan State team, see when the offense, it's not as bad as Northwestern, but it's very, very close. I think Lewerke's like 54% on the year. They don't really have a running back. The defense, and the defense is actually decent, but they're on the field so much they can't actually stop anyone, and that's what happened in the game last week against Penn State. But you brought up the Michigan game, and I think that's a great point, KT. I think they lose that game, by 3-7. But it really depends on Shea Patterson. If you had asked me 4 weeks ago, I would have said, Shea Patterson he handles pressure worse than almost any quarterback in college football, but he's been really, really decent handling pressure lately. And I think that offensive line for Michigan is extremely overrated. I like them to be very competitive against Ohio State. I'm glad you brought that game up.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And then you mentioned Northwestern. I mean, you talk about a pathetic offense, and how bad does it get for Northwestern? Their leading receiver, J.J. Jefferson, the only guy that has touchdown receptions for them this year. He has 2.
Yeah.
Nobody else has one. He's out this game against Indiana. How Indiana in Bloomington is not going to beat this team by, 20-plus. Look, I respect the linebacking core. I know Northwestern, they'll get in it. But I'm telling you, Indiana, pretty solid offense there. I expect them to pull away. I can't see Northwestern hanging in that game. The line is 10.5. It's actually dropped a couple points. I think the money's going the wrong way.
So let's talk about a game that a lot of our listeners will relate to. UNLV against Colorado State. The line opened up at 8.5. What's it at now?
Last I saw it was sitting at 9. You had places at 9, 8.5, 9. Let me see if I can find it because of different shops. But initially, I looked at Colorado State. UNLV, I mean, they really got jobbed at the end of that San Diego
I agree.
State game.
Yep.
I mean, some really tough calls that didn't go for them. They should have had pass interference call, and then you hit the upright to put the game into overtime. They battled back. They hung in there. Colorado State, though, I watched their game against Fresno State, and they really outplayed Fresno State. So you have a backup quarterback coming in that's feeling comfortable now because he has a couple games under his belt, and that receiving core was solid, and they suspended their running back, Marvin Kinsey. So you figure, they're in trouble. But who steps up? McElroy replaces him, gets 117 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground, and Colorado State rolls by 10. So it's going to be a tough place. One thing about Fort Collins, and I hope UNLV, their student body, takes note of that, because here's Colorado State. They're 3-5. UNLV's 2-6. And you'll watch. That place will have a great college atmosphere. And I know the stadium's close and all that good stuff and right there. But you'll see them. They'll be into the game. And I think Bobo's done a nice job. I mean, this team, could have easily gone into a shell, but they're playing good, solid, competitive football. So the Rebs better bring their A game, and they got to slow down the run. It's been tough for them, and if they can do that, I think they have a chance to stay in there. Oblad showed some brilliance at
he's
times.
good.
But, yeah, I'm hoping the Rebs can get a W. It's been tough for Tony. There's some games that they probably should have won that they ended up losing, but, the deck is definitely stacked against him. And for him to hold on to his job after this season, it's going to be really, really tough just because new stadium and the ultimatum was there. Get bowl eligible. I mean, win 6 games. Doesn't mean you have to go to a bowl, but you got to win 6 games. And he knows it. He's embraced it, and he said, what is what it is. I'm just going to continue to do my job and do the best that I can to try and, put a solid product on and off the field, and that's what he's doing. Unfortunately, the football's just not rolling his way. He's had some tough luck.
Ken Thompson joining us, host of SportsX Radio. You can catch him Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. right here on KDWN. He's wired in when it comes to all things, especially college football, college basketball. He's dialed in, too, also on the NFL and the NBA and the NHL as well, too. But we're talking college football. And, Ken, we're looking at 8 games in right now for most teams, right? And people are jockeying for position and possibilities that go into a college football playoff. A couple intriguing games out here on the West Coast this week as well, too. You got the Utes going up to the Pacific Northwest, taking on the Huskies up there, and you also have to match up with the Ducks as they go down to the Coliseum and take on your USC Trojans. Your thoughts on the matchup with Oregon, USC, and of course Utah and Washington, with both the Utes and of course Oregon sitting at 7-1 and right there in the mix.
Yeah, and Washington's still wondering how they lost that game to Oregon. 2-touchdown lead, then a 10-point lead with 6 minutes to go. But got to give the Ducks credit. They came back, and not only they win, they covered that line by a point. Gosh darn it, lost some money there. Now Washington at home, coming off a bye. But I like this Utah team. Look, their only loss is to Southern Cal. Fink steps in and does a great job because Slovis goes down second play of that game. And Utah not prepared to take on Fink. They have no idea who this guy is, really, because, Slovis is the guy they watch film on all week. They put him down and out. What happens? SC can't run the ball, but Matt Fink comes right in, and even the first play from scrimmage, he throws a big, long gainer. Utah is probably happy that there's no rain because that would be a huge advantage for Washington. It's supposed to be 50 degrees and no rain there. Look, I like Tyler Huntley a lot, and Zach Moss, outstanding running back. They're still going to have to bring their A game. They don't have a lot of great receivers because they lost Covey early in the year.
Yep.
But the defensive line's still good enough to put pressure on Jacob Eason. The running game could be hampered a little bit for Washington. Ahmed is there, their starter, but it looks like Newton will miss and McGrew's questionable, so that takes some depth away.
That's a big deal,
Fuller now is questionable as far as receiving core, and I think he may be able to go. And then Brian and Otten, 2 pretty good tight ends there for Washington. I think that'll be a really good game, one that I'm staying away from. I respect Brad Powers is on Washington. I understand taking that team at home as a dog, but I took them, similar line, against Oregon, and they floundered down the stretch. Shouldn't have blown a 2-touchdown lead or a 10-point lead with 6 minutes to go, but they did. And when you have 3 Pac-12 losses, it just shows you this is not the same type Husky team. Remember, they lose a guy like Ben Burke-Kirven that had 170 tackles last year. They don't have anybody like that on defense. They lost 9 starters on that side of the ball. for SC, they're so banged up. I mean, you look at their injury report, it looks like the Book of War and Peace. It's ridiculous.
Ouch.
So it is.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable. But Stephen Carr, I think, will be able to go to help out Christian in the backfield. The receiving core, still St. Brown, Pittman Jr., and Vaughns. And now Drake London stepped up with 7 catches and 85 yards last week. So, yeah, those 4 guys, they're going to move the ball. I think they'll definitely be able to move the ball on this Oregon defense that we heard was so great a few weeks ago. Why was it great? Because they looked good against Auburn, but Auburn's offense is pathetic. So that's why, they lost to LSU. If their offense was any good, if Bo Nix was any good, they'd have beat LSU because LSU really didn't do much. So, I'm looking at this game. If Herbert takes care of the ball, Verdell is back. He had a huge game, 257 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground last week. Look, they were very fortunate to beat Wazoo, and we said that Wazoo would cover there. All 3 of us said that on the show last week, and that was easy money. That was the easiest money ever, plus 14, and Wazoo led till the final series of the game. So we're hoping to give you some more good plays, but I think SC can hang in there. I think SC can win the game, but I'll respect Oregon. Probably a game I lean on SC a little bit, but I do look at that injury report. You got Hufanga out and Jackson, and Rector may go. We'll wait and see. The defense has to step up and slow Oregon down a little.
I think it comes down to what cornerbacks for SC play. If Elijah Griffin is playing, if Chris Steele is playing, if Isaac Taylor Stewart are playing, I think those guys are just more talented. Oregon's wide receivers are fine. They have the 5'9" Jalen Redd. They've got Micah Pittman. They haven't recruited as well as SC had, and I take this in consideration when I handicap a game like this. But if those cornerbacks play this weekend, I think SC can win the game outright. And for the Utah-Washington game, to me, it looks like the biggest trap game of the week, kind of like the UCLA-Arizona State game last week. It's kind of on the same plane. Easton's very accurate. They have a good punter. They have a good kicker. I mean, they are solid across the board. They have 4 or 5 wide receivers, and Easton has the arm to get it to those wide receivers. Utah has an unbelievably good defensive line. But again, I look at this SC game with Utah, and I compare how they played against Fink on how they're going to play against Easton. I do kind of agree with Brad, but I might buy it up to 3.5 if I have to from the 3. But it's a game I really don't want to touch. It won't be a huge play by any means.
Yeah, but here's the thing: if Washington can't run, that'll be major. Remember,
Right.
USC, they got outgained. I think in the second half it was like 200 to 40 as far as total yardage, as far as running the ball. And in fact, SC I think only had 34 rushing yards for the entire game. So it was Matt Fink that kind of surprised Utah, and they got some turnovers. Things worked out for them. But Utah's, defense, not just a line to get pressure on Jacob Eason, but also to slow down Ahmed. If you slow down Ahmed, man, they're going to be in a lot of trouble because that's going to put everything squarely on the shoulders of Eason. I don't think he's that guy. He still has another year to go. He's good, but he's not great, and there's a difference. Herbert is still not great, but he's pretty darn good, and he was able to come back and beat Washington and then beat Wazoo last week. So Oregon right now living the charmed life right now.
I agree.
With a couple of victories. We'll see what happens if they beat Troy. I mean, I don't expect them to lose after that. If they don't lose to USC, I think Oregon's got a great shot to run the table. Question is, they do play Utah, and will they play Utah again in that finale? And if they do, it's going to be that'll be a great game. So right now, Utah half game. Well, they're actually a half game behind SC in the win column. Loss column, they're even. But remember, SC of course beat Utah, so Utah needs USC to lose a game, and it would probably bode well for them if they lose to Oregon, because then if Utah can take out Oregon and go unblemished from here on out, they're only going to have that one loss, and that actually keeps a playoff hope, a glimmer of hope, alive for the Utes.
Let's slide east and get both JD and also KT your take on a couple of matchups. You got SMU taking on Memphis. You wouldn't expect this to be like a marquee game, but it is, man. SMU sitting at 8-0. Best team probably since 1985 for this program, and they're taking on a Memphis team that's 7-1. And we're talking the American Conference right there. And then, of course, something that's fond to my heart. I've had a chance to head up to Jacksonville, KT and JD, and check out the world's biggest cocktail party as Florida takes on Georgia. This is an opportunity for Florida's secondary, I think, against Georgia and Jake Fromm. Fun matchup there. What your thoughts, KT, first on the matchup with the Gators and the Bulldogs, and, of course, SMU taking on Memphis?
All right, let me start with SMU Memphis because there's a key injury right now that is huge. If Reggie Roberson does not go for SMU, and he was in a walking boot after the game last week, he's listed as questionable. I just actually just went to injury to check it out. Still game time decision potentially. If he does not go, that puts all the pressure on Proch, their other receiver. Those two guys between them, 15 touchdowns, 104 receptions. but they have to have, Buechele needs Roberson to be on that field for them to have a chance. First off, game day is going to be there, and Memphis is a great non-Power 5 environment when that team is playing well. They lose their running back early, but who steps in? Kenneth Gainwell. This guy's got 11 touchdowns on the ground, 3 by the airways. Brady White's a guy that gets it. He's going to take his time and stand back there and throw the football. He's got DeMonte Coxey, one of the better receivers. Gibson's pretty good as well. Those two guys, I think they're going to be open. I think the crowd's going to be huge in this game. And SMU, they're undefeated. Give Sonny Dykes a ton of credit. But they're very fortunate to beat Tulsa in 3 overtimes, a game they trailed by 3 scores. Even Houston, a backup quarterback, they struggled. They were outgained last week by 150 yards against Houston. So, I'm not sold on SMU. The record looks good. It's a great story. Dykes taking that team from the depths of despair and really elevating their play. But I think Memphis is going to get them. And then the Florida-Georgia game, here's the thing with Georgia. Right now, how good does their little 6-point win against Notre Dame at home look? Not too good, right? And that's what I was saying about Georgia. They have a mammoth offensive line. You got DeAndre Swift, one of the best running backs in the country. Fromm's a very solid and efficient passer. But who are the receivers? I mean, Cager's banged up. Pickens, Blaylock, Robertson. Do you even know any of these guys, Chris? You don't know any of these guys. You know why? Because they're not worth a crap compared to the receiving core that Georgia's had.
It's so true, my friend. You are dialed in.
Here's the thing. If Georgia's able to control the ball on the ground and run the ball, they'll win the game. But if not, Kyle Trask has shown that he can throw the ball around. He's got some decent receivers. He gets back Kadarius Toney, who's back. Zuniga and Greenard are both back as far as the linebacking and defensive end. They do miss David Reese, the second linebacker, who's out, and that's a major loss. But Pearson Pirine on the ground. I think the Gators have a great chance to win this game. I don't know how Georgia's a 6.5-point favorite. 73 degrees, perfect weather, going to be one of those can't-miss games. Again, if Georgia controls the line of scrimmage, and they have one of the best, if not the best offensive line in football, that'll take pressure off Fromm, because let's face it, Fromm's not throwing the ball to anybody that seems to be wide open this year. It's a totally different Georgia team, and they're living on their past from the last 2 years to stay inside the top 5 like they are. I think Florida exposes them, and I think Florida wins the game.
Ken Thompson joining us live here on the Vegas Take. Ken, there's never enough time for you, my friend. We bring in a lot of college football there. We didn't even get into the NFL yet.
We could do this for 4 hours.
You know what, though?
Did you see that Quan Alexander's out for the season for the Niners, Ken?
Yeah, that's a major blow.
That's a huge blow.
And I'm just glad the Niners won last night, just won, because I have Arizona under their win total. But Murray and the guys never quit. They're playing good ball.
Yeah, they look good. I agree with that. Ken, who's your number 1 team in the country right now, college football?
Oh boy, man! I'd have to say, realistically, it's definitely not LSU. If you give me one team, it's Ohio State. If you give me one team, I think that's going to win it all. Best team in football, Ohio State. That includes Bama, includes Clemson.
Ken, we appreciate the time. We're up against it, but never fear, because he's going to be on the air tonight, 8 to 10 p.m. live from Legacy Stadium.
And that will
himself, along with J.D. Sharp and Brad Powers, they're going to break down every game. You can follow him also on Twitter at SportsX Radio and at Ken Thompson on Twitter.
You guys rock, and Chris, your Lions are going down Sunday.
It's a big game. It's the first time. I think the Raiders haven't been back at the Coliseum since like 2017, right?
Long time.
It's going to be tough.
And it's not fun, as Christians will tell you, to face the Lions in a Coliseum. That's for sure.
That's true. That's so true. Ken, have a great weekend. We appreciate you spending some time on your Friday, my friend.
You guys, man, doing a great job, man. How cool is it to not have Shapiro on a Friday? It's like a 3-day weekend for the listeners.
I'll be waiting for the texts from him later on. He'll still find a way to badger me. He can do it.
Later, guys.
Thanks, Ken. Ken Thompson, host of SportsX Radio here on the Vegas Take. When we come back, Brian Salmon's going to join us, sports director, Channel 3. Break down its fight weekend, folks, both MMA and boxing. Big-time matchups as we continue on the Vegas Take on your Friday.
Hey, Chuck, I saw on CNN that over 40% of the American population can't cover a $400 emergency expense. Is that true?
The bad news, yes, 100% true. The good news, this is exactly the group of folks we welcome every day at Dollar Loan Center. I can't tell you how many times I've told the critics of our industry to simply walk into a bank and try to borrow a couple $1,000s. Most banks won't even take your application, Craig. We get it at Dollar Loan Center. We're here for you, the real people in Nevada who run into a pinch every now and then.
That was Chuck, founder of Dollar Loan Center, where you can get up to $5,000 in just minutes and have up to a year to pay it back, even if you don't have a checking account. We have over 50 locations, and our friendly Dollar Loan Center staff are ready to help. You can also apply over the phone or online at don'tbebroke.com.
Licensed by Nevada Financial Institutions Division. Customer must meet minimum loan qualifications. To review loan qualifications, visit us at don'tbebroke.com. Certain limitations may apply. Loans are subject to approval.
Looking for that perfect new piece of furniture for your home? A New Concept Furniture is the place to start and end your search. They'll beat any price on the internet, and they're here locally, so you can feel what you're buying first. Go to A New Concept Furniture today at 4255 South Grand Canyon to see for yourself the slick, modern, shiny store that mirrors our shiny city. A New Concept. Check out their showroom or call them at 702-570-2240. That's 702-570-2240.
New York City Council Speaker Corey Johnson is reacting to President Trump moving his residence from Manhattan to Florida.
Adios, au revoir, sayonara, avitazing. We are the most diverse city in the United States. We're a city of immigrants, and we are happy to see the president go. Maybe one day he will return to be tried for his high crimes and misdemeanors and illegalities, but he has not been a friend in New York City.
Trump says he's moving in part because politicians in New York have been unfair to him. Jobs grew by 128,000 last month, even with the giant strike by workers at General Motors, but the strike helped cause the unemployment rate to skip ahead by 0.1% to 3.6%. A new investigation finds toxic heavy metals damaging to your baby's brain development are likely in your baby food you're giving your infant. 1 in 5 baby foods tested had over 10 times the acceptable lead limit. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads in the KDON Traffic Center.
Traffic sponsored by Lowe's, and a west side crash remains on the 215 Western Beltway northbound Flamingo off ramp. Now it's all in the Gore area with crews on scene. Injury crash on Tropicana east of Las Vegas Boulevard. The rest of the Valley Drive not looking too bad for you across the I-15 and the 95, all looking accident free at the moment. Pros do it right by shopping at Lowe's to save on the supplies they need most from the brands they trust to get the job done. Do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. I'm Bradley J. in the KDON Traffic Center.
This is Harry Jacobs from Credit Restoration of Nevada, inviting you to join me for the Credit Show, Saturday mornings between 9 and 10, here on the new 101.5 FM and 720 AM, KDON.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. The world is changing. Isn't it time smoking changed too? Vuse Alto is a vapor product offering you a satisfying alternative to cigarettes. Simple to use, surprisingly quiet, and impressively powerful. Our best vapor yet at our best price ever. 99 cents plus tax at participating retailers. 99-cent offer applies to Alto device. Pods sold separately. Underage sale prohibited.
Tina Trenner is back, and she's on 720 AM, 101.5 FM, KDWN, every Sunday at 12:30 p.m. She's sick of the nonsense and has something to say every Sunday at 12:30 p.m.
And now more Straight Talk from Straight Talk. The big wireless guys try to saddle you with expensive wireless plans because that's how they earn big commissions.
Saddled? What am I, a horse?
No, you are not. That's why with Straight Talk Wireless, you get our unlimited plan for just $45 a month with 25 gigs at high speeds. No contract, no saddle.
Oh, like a wild wireless stallion.
Uh-huh, sure. Switch today and get America's best networks for up to half the cost. Straight Talk Wireless, only at Walmart.
Savings may vary. See straighttalk.com.
This is what parents are saying about Infinity, the Math Institute.
She didn't like school. She really did not like to go to math class. She would be very upset. She wouldn't do her homework. With Infinity Math, she actually listened and wanted to succeed in math.
My kids were already good in math, but now they're excellent. My husband and me, we are so happy because we see how she is interested in math and that she is always excited to go. We are so glad we made this choice to send her to Infinity.
I like Infinity because it has broadened my children's view on math because Mr. Brookhagen is an awesome teacher.
Math is everywhere. There's no reason why our kids should hate it. Infinity changed that for my kids, and imagine what they can do for you.
Call Infinity, the Math Institute, at 702-768-1777. That's 768-1777. Infinity, the Math Institute. Don't get more math problems, get solutions.
Hey, it's Brian Shapiro from the Vegas Take Care, and now it's time for Infinity's Fun Fact of the Day.
A checkerboard has 64 spaces. If the first space had 1 checker, the second space doubled it to 2 checkers, the third space doubled it to 4 checkers, and so on. By the 36th space, you would have a stack of checkers that could reach the moon. The 64th space would reach another solar system.
Don't forget to visit themathinstitute.com for more information on how to make your child the most successful student they can be.
3 years ago, my mom, my sweetheart, who had type 2 diabetes, died of heart disease. We didn't know that if you have diabetes, you are 2 to 4 times more likely to develop cardiovascular disease. Heart disease and diabetes are linked. If you have type 2 diabetes, know your risk of heart disease. Be good to yourself and those you love, because the sooner you know your risk, the more you and your doctor can do about it. Go to foryoursweetheart.com.
I'm good, but I have a story and I don't know where to start.
I'm good, but I feel alone in a crowd.
When the service member or veteran in your life says,
I'm good.
are you really listening?
I still have nightmares. I'm really not so good. Are you ready to listen?
Suicide prevention is everyone's responsibility. Listen to the veteran or service member in your life. If you are in crisis or know someone who is, call the Veterans Crisis Line and Military Crisis Line at 1-800-273-8255 and press 1.
And now a message from the traffic cone you ran over on Blue Diamond last week.
Okay, ow, that hurt. I know, you're in a hurry, but I could have been killed. Look, I have a wife and a baby cone on the way. I'm out there risking it all. And for what? I'll tell you. Southern Nevada's economic future. I'm helping the I-11 get built and the Centennial Bowl. So show a cone a little love.
Love the cone. For road construction details, visit seeingorangenv.com or call 702-928-CONE.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 a.m. KDON.
Okay. It's a Friday edition of the Vegas Take, coming our way live from 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDON. Chris Wynn in for Brian Shapiro. He had a festive evening last night, JD. JD Sharp live in studio. Also, Johnny handling his business behind the scenes. But got a chance to go out and see Marilyn Manson last night. I'm curious how that all went down. Marilyn Manson was a big name back in the probably late 90s.
Oh, he's still a big name.
And you think so?
Yeah.
Marilyn Manson?
Yeah.
Kind of faded away.
No, he's the goth.
I mean, look,
occult Halloween.
He's a strange bird, isn't he? I mean, he's not necessarily my cup of tea. He's not. I'm not a Marilyn Manson type of guy.
Metal, yeah, but everybody knows who Marilyn Manson is. He's branded.
Well, I know who he is. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but I mean,
do you think he's still like a major? You think he's a major draw
in his genre? Absolutely. Yeah, in his specific genre, I believe he is.
Brian Shapiro got a chance to head out there last night. He'll be back. Brian will be back on Monday, as after a couple of days of a lot of activity in the world of sports. We got a lot of NFL action. The Raiders are finally back in Oakland for the first time in about, I believe it's like 6 or 7 weeks. They'll take on the Detroit Lions up there in the Bay Area. You've got all kinds of NBA, NHL action. The Vegas Golden Knights end up playing themselves into a loss last night. They're up 4-2 late in that game and end up losing 5-4 in that matchup. And, of course, it's a big fight weekend here in Vegas. You got not the UFC 244 is not here in Vegas.
No, it's in New York.
But you got Nate Diaz is headlining that card. Nate, of course, a character, a guy who's, one of the, he's the tip of the spear in the UFC world. He generates a lot of interest, let's put it that way, when he's on the fight card. And, of course, when it comes to boxing, huge matchup coming up this weekend here in Vegas. You've got Canelo Alvarez taking on Sergey Kovalev, a guy who's a 3-time light heavyweight champion world title holder. So intriguing matchup there. And joining us now on the phone lines, he is wired in also when it comes to all things sports. He's the sports director at NBC Channel 3 here in Las Vegas, friend of the show, does a great job. Brian Salmon joining us here on the Vegas Tape. Brian, we appreciate the time. How are you?
My guy Chris Wynn got me wired in.
Yes, sir,
okay.
Baby. You have your finger on the pulse of all things sports in Vegas, my friend. And so that's why we need to get some of your input.
You should call me the doctor then. Uh-oh, I think someone else has got that name. But
I think there's a couple radio personalities around the country that already had that lined up as far as a nickname.
Or there's definitely at least one in Vegas.
There is. That's true.
All right, well, the physician. Call me the physician.
Okay. All right.
You get to. We got all kinds of nicknames for you, B Sal. Okay, we can do it up for you.
See, win, my
Yes,
guy.
sir.
What's up, guys?
How you doing?
We're doing good, man. We got, of course, a busy weekend coming up, and it's highlighted by a major matchup in the world of boxing, of course, right, Brian? With Canelo Alvarez, and look, everybody was thinking, the next big fight would be really cool, right? To have Canelo take on Triple G for a third time after two highly entertaining matchups, but apparently Triple G had other ideas, right? And decides, you know what? I'm not going to just move up one weight class. I'm going to move up 2 weight classes and take on a guy who's much bigger and who's a 3-time light heavyweight champion. And look, Canelo, he's already got titles in junior middleweight, super middleweight. And so now he's going after Canelo's belt as well, too. And or he's going after Canelo, a guy who's, the biggest name in the division, let's be quite honest. And I got to believe you think this is a very intriguing matchup, right,
I would
B-Sal?
say he's the biggest name in boxing right now.
Oh, no
Canelo
question about
Alvarez
it.
is,
No question about it. But he's taking on, Kovalev, who in that division is clearly, is far and above the biggest star in the division. So Brian, I got to believe that this is, despite the fact that, it's not Canelo and Triple G, but it's still a heck of an intriguing matchup.
Man, I'm pumped about this fight. I'm really pumped about this fight because, Kovalev is a guy that he was the crusher. He was the boogeyman. Beat Bernard Hopkins. A lot of people thought that he beat Andre Ward in that first fight. I think the decision was okay for me in the first fight, but the second fight, clearly he got beat. But still, Kovalev is like my size as far as, just a really intimidating big dude if he's my size, clearly. But no, he's way bigger than Canelo. And I think that Canelo possibly could have bitten off more than he could chew, but man, you gotta love the stones on that guy, man. And think forget one weight class. I'm jumping up 2 weight classes, 15 pounds from 160 to 175 to challenge a guy who's not a bum. He's challenging a guy who's the champion. He's really challenging a champion and a named champion at that. I can't wait to watch this fight. It's really a fight made for people who love boxing. Because the average person doesn't necessarily know this fight and it probably isn't all that pumped about it. But anyone who knows boxing is absolutely excited about this thing. I can't wait to go, man.
Yeah, a couple aspects that are very interesting between these two is you got Alvarez, who's a guy who's not afraid to go to the body, right? That's really one of his more powerful and one of his best aspects of his game is his body attack. And then you got Kovalev, of course, who's a jab master, right? He's a guy who utilizes the jab so well, and that's going to be an interesting contrast between these two guys once they get between the squared circle on Saturday night.
Yeah, that's always something that, it's the chess match of boxing, man. Who can impose whom's will on the other dude, man? Like Kovalev, like you said, he's got the reach advantage. He's a very good person at using the jab, which is the most important punch in boxing. But he is susceptible to the body. If anything that the Andre Ward fight showed us is that Kovalev is not a guy who likes getting touched in the body, which no one does, but he actually is a way that you can beat him by touching him to the body. And as you said, Canelo, man, he's a vicious body puncher, man. He goes to the body strong. He's got a good, powerful punch, but he's going to have to get through the crusher's jab in order to get to his body. So can he actually do that? He's a really good boxer. He's younger, obviously. He's faster. I think he's a better boxer than Kovalev, but, will he be able to do that in order to get to his body and get off some of those punches? That's probably one of the holes in Kovalev's game is the fact that he's not a very good inside fighter. We saw Andre Ward get in the inside and just kind of beat him up, push him around, use his strength. It's going to be really interesting to see if Canelo can get inside the body. But one thing is for sure, it's sad to say because we live in Vegas, but, Kovalev's not going to win a decision against Canelo. So, he's got to, you know what I mean? He's going to have to convincingly beat him.
He's going to definitely have to knock him out most likely, especially now that the rounds, it's minus 160 over 11 and a half rounds. So what's that tell you, C-Win?
It tells me that it could be going the distance, my friend.
They're likely expecting this fight to go the distance. So Canelo Alvarez is accused of tainted meat roughly a year and a half ago. Now suddenly he moves up 2 divisions, puts on 15 pounds. If he just destroys Kovalev, who was clearly larger than he is just by frame alone, but say he knocks him out in the 6th, do you think those rumors start popping up again, Brian?
You know what? I honestly don't necessarily think that the rumors will pop up again, just because, I mean, Canelo's a guy who usually walked around heavier than he was at that weight. Like, he kind of, I don't say he starved himself, but I mean, it was tough for him to make the weight, even though he's doesn't have as big of a frame as Kovalev. I think that folks that are kind of, I don't want to say cynics of boxing or people that like the ugly side of combat sports may bring up the fact that they think he might have, had some tainted meat, which I don't think anyone bought that excuse anyway. But I mean, if like you say it, Chris Wynn says it, like folks that kind of have a voice. If I get on the air and say it, then maybe some people start thinking like, you know what? I wonder if he did. But it's highly possible. I mean, you're not pulling anything out of thin air. You're not ridiculous for saying what you just said. So it is possible that if he beats him down, that you're like, well, he did jump up 2 weight classes.
Sports director Brian Salma joining us here live on the Vegas Take. He is with Channel 3 NBC here in Las Vegas. We're breaking down the Canelo and Canelo Alvarez, Sergey Kovalev fight going down. So, obviously, Brian, in a perfect world, as far as the boxing world is concerned, and whether you're Triple G or whether you're Alvarez's promoter, Golden Boy, and Oscar De La Hoya, and whether you're DAZN, the broadcasting network that has both fighters under like 9-figure deals. I think there's a few people out there that would prefer that Canelo be the guy that comes out on top in this fight tomorrow night.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, the boxing world is like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just like Dana White with a fight that he has in the UFC, he would prefer the bigger name fighter win just because it's better as a promoter and everything else. And obviously Canelo is the face of boxing and, the biggest name in boxing, even though he doesn't speak English, he doesn't really care to speak English, that, the powers that be would want him to win. Just like they wanted Anthony Joshua to win when he fought against Ruiz. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But hey, say Kovalev wins. What that does do is it makes up one. You could be like, well, you know what? He did jump up 2 weight classes, so that's the reason he lost because the size was just too much
it's
for
an
him.
Excuse.
So, you know what I mean? You got to build an excuse if he does lose.
Right. So who do you think wins the fight?
Ooh. Man, I kind of said the same thing on the air when Jim Snyder, our main anchor, asked me who I thought was going to win this fight. For real, I kind of feel like Kovalev could win this fight. But I'll put this on it. Depending on who shows up, if the Kovalev that fought against Andre Ward in the first fight shows up, then I think he beats Canelo Alvarez. Or at least gets a draw to the point to where folks are like, okay, Canelo bit off more than he can chew, and he goes back down. It's like, I got out of there alive without taking an L. But if the Kovalev that showed up in his last 2 fights shows up in this fight, I think that it's very highly possible that Canelo can win this fight. He can get inside. He can actually land some of these punches that people think he can't to the body. So is that really just hanging out on the fence like a bird?
Yeah, but it's fair. I can appreciate the political correctness and the urge not to commit to something. So one more boxing question for you here.
No, it's not that I don't want to commit. I truly feel that way. Like I seriously do.
So one more boxing question for you here. Sean Porter and Terrence Crawford has basically gone out and said that if Sean Porter agrees to a fight, he will fight Terrence Crawford or he will fight Sean Porter. And Terrence Crawford is I would say he's probably the top pound-for-pound boxer in the world, at least in my book. I don't know if that's the case with, BoxRec.com or Ring Magazine or whatever. But do you think that Sean Porter would have any shot of beating Terrence Crawford if that fight were to take place?
You said any shot?
Yes.
Of course, I think absolutely. I mean, you saw the fight with him and Errol Spence. I mean, he did what nobody thought he had any chance of doing.
It was a great fight.
Errol Spence. Man, that was a great fight. And you already know Sean Porter. He's a friend of your show, a friend of my show, like the greatest dude ever. And just being a great dude doesn't mean that you have to say that he has a chance, but he's proved it. I mean, he's out of all the top fighters in the welterweight division, Sean Porter has the best resume out of all of them by far. He's fought the best fighters, and he hasn't gotten washed by anybody. Nobody just destroyed him or they can walk through him. He's strong as hell. He absolutely has a chance against Terrence Crawford. That doesn't mean that I think he would go in there and beat him, but I think he absolutely has a chance. That's a lot. He's a live fight against anybody. He has a chance to beat anybody. But I thought that Terrence Crawford and Sean Porter were really good friends.
They are. They're extremely close.
Yeah, so I didn't think that fight would ever happen. I remember him saying that, I would never fight Terrence Crawford. So even though they may put, they're professionals and put friendship aside and blah, blah, blah. But so I hadn't heard that. I don't want to personally, I don't really want to see friends fight. Boxing is completely different. Like, guys, it's just a sport. It's like playing one-on-one basketball against somebody, even though you're punching, but it's still just a sport. And that's how boxers look at it, and I get that. But, wow, if they actually did fight, that'd be something, that'd be special.
Yeah, it'd be a big fight. And Terrence can inflict some damage. And, talking about damage, you've had 4 fighters actually die based on, in-the-ring injuries in the last 3 to 4 months. I'm starting to think that maybe boxing has too many rounds. Do you agree with that?
Nah, not necessarily, man. I mean, what they do have is sometimes referees are letting guys get hit too much.
Right, I agree.
What I mean? Yeah, I mean, like I know, man, like boxing, there's a danger element to it, just like NASCAR racing. I mean, and fighters know what they're getting into when they start fighting. So as long as, I think as long as the referee does what they're truly meant to do is save a fighter from themselves, because some guys can be just too tough, that element's never going to go away. And they fight 12 rounds, which, back in the day, like I'm an old man, like Chris Wynn, like, they used to go 15 rounds. And even way before that, they'd fight until, the sun went down and came back up. You know what I mean?
Old Man River. Yes, we are. Brian Salmon joining us here live here on the Vegas Take on a Friday. We're breaking down, of course, the Kovalev-Alvarez fight that goes down tomorrow night. But I'm going to switch gears on you, Brian, here a little bit and talk some VGK. Last night had a late lead there. Third period. They're up 4-2 in that one. And, look, we're 15 games into the season. There's been some chatter on social media and on Twitter, some concern about, where this team is at as far as, expectations and are they where they need to be. And, of course, personnel's kind of been going in and out with some injuries and guys coming back. But they ended up losing that game last night, 5-4 to the Montreal Canadiens, a team that, look, most hockey experts and people that, follow the game would understand that the Canadiens aren't a team that is as good as the Vegas Golden Knights, yet they end up coming out on top on that one. Yeah, any reason you think to push the panic button or to be concerned, I guess, about this Vegas Golden Knights team, considering, look, we're 15 games into the season?
Yeah. No, man, like that's only people that would panic and be like, oh my goodness, if you believe that the Golden Knights are a team that, like a lot of people like Barry Melrose believes that he picked them to win the Stanley Cup.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, no, really pushed the panic button after they played exactly one game with their entire team, one whole game with their entire team. You know what I mean? Like, come on now. Although last night's loss was terrible.
Yes.
The fact that they're up, 4-2 in the third period and they end up losing, they still get a point, which, like I know, 1 point is still better than 0 points in hockey. Getting any kind of a point is a big deal at all times. But it was a bad loss. I think you leave it at that. And if they continue to do something like they clearly pulled their foot off the gas pedal, like, we got this thing. And Montreal's like, please, guys, we still play. Like, I don't know what the heck you guys are doing. We still playing hockey out here. So,
and I think a big thing, right, is it's about getting guys going that were key, the last couple of years, whether it's William Karlsson, right? Whether it's keeping expounding on getting better if you're Cody Glass, right? A young guy like that continue to get confidence and continue to understand that, hey, I can be a great player in this league and continue to score goals for them. That can be big. I think that's massive. And then you combine that with the fact that, you want to manage Marc-Andre Fleury, right? You want to make sure he's fresh, make sure that, he's in the right spot. I think, managing him is going to be a big key, right, for the Golden Knights moving forward as far as their success.
Man, is it key? Yeah. I mean, they said last night, Marc-Andre Fleury, has the most starts of any goalie in the league, just like last year for the most part of the season, he was had the most time on the ice of any goalie. He had the most wins of any goalie in hockey at the beginning of last game, which last year for a great part of the season, he had the most wins because he started every game dang near and played every game and everything else. Yeah, they got to get Subban in there. I'm almost assuming that Subban may play on Saturday, tomorrow. I guess today is Friday, right? So yeah, yep. I'm assuming that Subban may play tomorrow because you're right, man. They got to get Fleury some rest. But with all that being said, the goals that went in, especially the two of the goals in the third period, had nothing to do with Fleury.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's getting scored on by his own teammates. So, it wasn't his fault. But, Fleury, man, he's a machine, but he needs rest.
Brian Salmon joining us, sports director from Channel 3 NBC here in Las Vegas. We're talking all things VGK. Also, of course, a big fight coming up tomorrow night. Brian, get a chance to get out with the family yesterday for some Halloween action, maybe a little trick-or-treating with the kids?
I absolutely did, yeah.
Yes.
My little girl here right now, she wants some candy that she's not getting. But, yeah, I went out last night. The little girl's dressed up, man. Jason, man, how about you? Did you do any trick-or-treating?
I did some trick-or-treating with my 2-year-old daughter. She fell out of her shoes about 6 times from all the walking, but that's fine. Her outfit, she was a tiger. She was a little tiger, so that was cool. But no, I talked about this earlier, but it's weird that the trick-or-treating environment in Vegas is so different from what I've experienced before. I mean, you had 60 to 70 kids. I mean, not just like 4 years old. I mean, up to 15, 16 years old, and the houses all around my house. A lot of the parents, there'd be a table for candy and there'd be a table for wine, and they would offer the parents wine, which I've never experienced that before. But
wow,
yeah, it was really crazy.
Well, I mean, not all of us has the opportunity to live in that kind of an environment, Jason. But
no, it is. I mean, it has nothing to do with the affluence of my neighborhood, but it was also cool to see Vegas is very, very diversified in culture. And it was also to see the different cultures, when you walk into, one thing you do with trick-or-treating is you can see inside your neighbor's house, and you have no idea, what their house looks like. So it was kind of cool to see the diversification of that as well. But I definitely enjoyed my Halloween, to say the least. But I did have the Knights last night in a money line parlay, a three-team parlay. And honestly, Brian, I'm hearing what you're saying, but I mean, this team is 8-7. They've lost to some pretty questionable teams, in my opinion. They've barely beaten. Wow. I mean, they barely beat Ottawa. That was a question. I mean, I don't know. I think this team. I'm not sure. I'm not saying the magic is gone, but I think there's reason to be at least a little concerned, or I would say moderately concerned, considering how successful the team was in the past and the big trades that were made in the acquisitions in the offseason. And I do believe that Fleury is starting to become more vulnerable, and as he should be. He's 36 years old.
Brian Salmon joining it. Brian, hey, we appreciate your time and getting a chance to join us, my friend. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again soon, okay?
Cool. That sounds good, man. Thanks for having me on, C-Win and Jason, man. I'm glad you guys had a chance to experience some good Halloween last night, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you as well.
Yeah. Take care, all right?
All right, guys.
I'd see you later, Brian.
Yeah. Right. Brian Salmon, you can find him on Channel 3 weekdays. He's the sports director there, does a great job covering all things Vegas sports. But it was tremendous getting a chance to fill in for Brian, JD, hang out with you on a Friday. Thanks to Johnny for all his help as well, too. Thanks to our guest, Ken Thompson from SportsX Radio. Catch him tonight from 8 to 10. Also, Brian Salmon, of course, Frank Rudy Cooper, the criminal law professor from UNLV, and also Mr. X as well, joined us live from Los Angeles. Hope everybody has a great weekend. We'll be back again on Monday. Brian Shapiro, JD Sharp. It is the Vegas Take. Hope everybody has a great weekend. We'll talk to you again on Monday.
So there's this guy named Jordan, and he's a healthy guy. He's a dad of 6, and he works as a guide.